Welcome in to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. As I've told you folks in the past, I'm a little obsessed right now with crime fiction. And one of the guys I'm obsessed with is our guest today, Tod Goldberg, who, let's just face it, guys, he's got to be one of the kings of crime fiction writing. He is, man, want to talk about a brilliant mind. This man has a brilliant mind and has a brilliant book out there right now called Gangsters Don't Die. Let me tell you a little bit about Tod Goldberg. If you don't know about him, first of all, I don't know what rock you're living under, but Tod Goldberg is the New York Times bestselling author of 14 books of fiction, including the acclaimed Gangsterland quartet. It includes Gangsterland, Gangster Nation, The Low Desert, Gangster Stories, and Gangsters Don't Die, which is the book we're talking about today, which were named finalist for the Hammett Prize, the International Thriller of the Year Award, the Strand Critics Award, and the Reading the West Award, and have been named Southwest Book of the Year. He's also the author of the standalone novels The House of Secrets, which he co-authored with Brad Meltzer, Living Dead Girl, a finalist for the Los Angeles Times Book Prize, and Fake Liar Cheat, the acclaimed story collections, Other Resort Cities, and Simplify, which won the Other Voices Book Prize, was a finalist for the Southern California Booksellers Association Award for Fiction. And 5 books in the popular Burn Notice series, which I'm sure you're aware of course, with the television show as well, that was all about Burn Notice and about the books. 3 times a finalist for the Scribe Award. His books have been published in a dozen languages and around the world. In addition to his 3 volumes of collected stories, Tod's short fiction has appeared in a number of magazines, journals, and anthologies, including Las Vegas Noir, Palm Springs Noir, and Best American Mysteries and Suspense. His nonfiction and criticism appears regularly in newspapers, magazines, and anthologies, including most recently in the Los Angeles Times, USA Today, Alta, and Best American Essays. For his body of work, Tod has won 5 Nevada Press Association awards and was honored with the Silver Pen Award from the Nevada Writers Hall of Fame. In addition to all the work on the page, Tod was also the co-host of the podcast Literary Disco, along with Julia Pistel and Ryder Strong, which was named a top podcast by the Washington Post, The Guardian, Mashable, and even Good Housekeeping. I'm going to get some tips from him today on how to do a good podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome in to True Crime Tuesday, Tod Goldberg. Thanks for coming back on the program, Tod. I got to tell you, I had an incredible time with you last time. I've really been looking forward to getting you back on here, so I want to thank you for coming back.
Well, I'm so happy to be back, and after hearing my own bio, I feel like maybe I should aim a little higher with some of these shows that I'm on. I'm pretty damn impressive. My God.
I know, man. You're cleaning up on life. That's for sure. I got to say, is there ever a bad day in the Tod Goldberg universe? That's what I got to find out, first of all.
I mean, I had a bad day this week, Tim. As you know, I'm an Oakland A's fan. And
right.
The news came out that Major League Baseball personally took a shot against me and approved their move to Las Vegas, which it was not a great day. Did I put on a jersey, a hat, and throw a ball in the air and sob for the memory of Jose Canseco, who's not dead? I did. And I was like, where's Walt Weiss when we need him?
Right. You got to pour one out for the Bash Brothers, that's for sure.
Pour one out. Get that on a shirt. We could make $1 million. Pour one out for the Bash Brothers.
That's right. Yeah, it is a sad day in Oakland. I think for Major League Baseball in its entirety. We talked before the show, and I really do believe it. I'm going to say F Major League Baseball right now. It's been nothing about money for the last few decades. They tried to contract my Twins at one time.
Right.
They're just, they're a horrible, horrible organization. There's a reason why, and keep in mind, I'm a baseball fan. You know, I sit outside on my front porch with my chipmunks and I listen to Twins baseball every day, all day during baseball season. But the fact of the matter is they're a money grubbing organization.
Well, it turns out that in general, professional sports is not run by humanitarians.
As it should be. The Dalai Lama should be commissioner.
But professional baseball itself does seem to be of the major American sports. I mean, the NFL seems like it's actually run by the mob, but Major League Baseball seems like it's just run by like a really sort of shitty McDonald's franchise owner who's just like, everything's $1 more today. Everything's $1.50 more today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as an A's fan, so I grew up in the Bay Area, and the A's were just part of the identity growing up in the East Bay, like this hard scrabble, facial hair covered team that won despite it all. They were really part of the culture of the Bay Area. But more importantly, for me as a kid, I'm profoundly colorblind, and their green and gold uniforms really stood out for me. I could really see them.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that's part of the reason why I became an A's fan versus a Giants fan, because I really can't see the color red, and they would wear red and white, and so just like white and gray to me. But the forest green, oh my God, like that was my color. I could see it. But I got so much tied into them, man. It's just so depressing. But here's the thing that I think about sometimes. It's like, well, maybe I just like their shirts. As I don't go to many ball games in person because I don't live in Oakland anymore. I get up there maybe once or twice every couple of years to see a game. Mm-hmm. Like, if I just am watching them on TV or listening to them on the radio, does it really matter what city they're in? Maybe not. And also, as a 52-year-old man, I'm aware that I'm putting a lot of emotion and weight onto what a couple 23-year-old guys do on a daily basis. Guys I wouldn't let park my car if I pulled up to a valet station. Like, so you're not 25. You can't park my car. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, the rational part of my mind is like, I spend a lot of time as a sports fan rooting for children to help me. Like, I was watching the UCLA USC football game this past weekend, and I'm a UCLA guy, and I was screaming at the quarterback, like, make better decisions. I'm like, I am screaming at a 19-year-old. Like, if I did this in public, people would think I'm nuts. Like, of course he makes bad decisions. He's 19.
Right. He probably tonight or that night after the game is going to make more bad decisions. Like,
like if I had been on TV in my free time when I was 19, I'd be in prison.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. I probably would have made so many bad decisions. I would have ruined my life. Yeah.
Exactly. All of which to say that's why I write crime fiction. So that way I don't have to put myself physically on display on a nightly basis for the judgment of adult men.
See, that even remains to be seen. I mean, there's some stuff in Gangsters Don't Die that may make people judge you twice here, Todd. I mean, that's
true.
There's some juicy stuff in this book, my friend. It's good though. It's a good book. I have to tip my cap to you. There's some really, really good stuff in this book, and we're gonna run down a little bit, spoiler free, of course. We're gonna run down quite a bit about this book. And we'll jump into it in a minute here. I want to wrap up the A's talk here for a second. Sure. And I want to ask you the one question, and that's this. I know there's a little bit of rage on your part, but will you still, though, go out to Vegas and that special time of year where twilight starts to fade on baseball and football starts, and will you do the A's Raiders doubleheader and go see both teams and call it a day?
Well, in order to see the Raiders, I'd have to sell my kidney. Those tickets are like $1,500 a pop.
Sure.
And I'm not sure if I want to spend $1,500 to watch someone lose 36-12. However, I do have a very good friend who is director of operations for the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, yeah.
And I've gone to see hockey in Vegas and had an amazing time.
Okay.
And more importantly, free drinks because of my friend. So I absolutely will go up to Vegas and see an A's game. Like, I'm upset about all this, but the other side of me is like, it's a 3.5-hour drive from my house in Palm Springs to Vegas. Mm-hmm. And I can go see a ball game in Vegas and not have to go stay in San Francisco and spend $1 million. Mm-hmm. So that side of it, I'm sure I will still root for them because I'm not going to root for the Dodgers. I'm not going to root for the Angels.
Right.
The Dodgers or the Angels, like, ugh, I can't. It's against every fabric of my being. As a Bay Area native, the idea of rooting for the Dodgers is like, hey, you know what? Why don't we cut off our fingers and eat them as small chicken tenders? No, I'm not gonna do it. It's against nature. I'm not deep frying my own fingers. I'm not rooting for the fucking Dodgers. Oh, pardon me.
No,
I'm not rooting for the Dodgers.
It's raw emotion here, Todd. You could say it. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm very close to the edge.
That's
very
right.
close.
I was gonna say it's like opening up a can of Alpo, grilling it up, and calling it filet mignon. It's not the same, right?
Not the same.
That's right.
And the thing about fandom, I'm actually sort of interested in this, and I've read up a bunch on it because I'm interested in my own psychopathy. Like fandom really starts for the most part when you are really young. Like you're trying to identify with a group, and that I always identified with the A's is odd because when I was a kid, they were not good. So the A's have always had periods of being really good and then really, really bad for long periods of time. And so when I became cognizant of them, so like 1977, I was 6, I started to watch them. They'd started to go to seed at that point, and they weren't really good again until Billy Martin showed up a few years later. But like to identify with a scrappy underdog team from a town that's viewed less than its older brother, San Francisco, like that appealed to me. Yeah. And that doesn't have that same appeal in Las Vegas. Las Vegas are just an entertainment, but I'll get past it.
Yeah. Eventually, yeah. Part of the thing about getting older is you realize that there's nothing that lays in permanence. Everything is so.
That was a great point.
Yeah,
yes.
Everything
except for your colonoscopy appointment. It's always out there.
Oh God, that's always looming in the background.
It's always there, waiting for you.
That's right. Those cold hands and those latex covered jolly appointments are always
lost half the audience.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the minute we said colonoscopy, they all fled. All right, we'll get on to happier.
That's a true crime right there, my friend.
That is a true crime because something's been burgled and it's not fun. We should probably get on to gangsters, shouldn't we? Yeah, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Speaking of Las Vegas, we take a little trip to Las Vegas via Palm Springs. In your book, Gangsters Don't Die, again, I guess you could say this is your. I don't want to say this is your Return of the Jedi of this particular Gangsterland series, but this is kind of it. This is kind of the apex. This is the climax. This is it. This is the
end.
The end. How did you feel about this as you were writing it? Did you take a big sigh of relief? Did you say, "Hey, this is it"? Did you plow through this, or was this one where you sat back and enjoyed the process as you were writing this book?
Well, so I should note that. So it was a long time between this book and the previous novel. So I wrote Gangsterland. Gangsterland came out in 2014. Mm-hmm. Gangster Nation came out in 2017. Low Desert came out in 2021, and then this came out in 2023. And so it's been 6 years since the last Gangsterland novel. And the reason for that is that I was working on an adaptation of the TV for several years. And so I didn't want to write the last novel if the TV show was going to be on the air, because I didn't want to spoil it. And so I wrote the Low Desert, the Gangster Stories book, in between to sort of expand the universe out. So even though it seems like for readers that maybe I was taking some time in between, I've been constantly working in this universe the entire time. Because I had a deal with Amazon to turn the books into a TV show. They ended up turning it around during the pandemic, but we're going to sell it again shortly to some great people. I can't tell you now; I'd have to kill you. Okay. But so I've been working constantly with this character this entire time, and so when I finally sat down to write this book to finish off the series, at first it was hard because my mind space was not in the last book. My mind space was really still at the beginning because of what we've been doing for the TV show. But once I got into it, once I sat down and realized like this is the end, I really have to come and stick the landing. It was a lot of fun to write. But it was also very emotional and nostalgic for me because I started working with this character in 2008. I had written a short story originally called Mitzvah that was in an anthology called Las Vegas Noir. And that had started this whole process off. So it's really been 15 years that I've been writing this character. And so by the time I got to the end, which I won't spoil for you, but the title does reveal a few things. I was feeling really like, oh God, like I'm coming to a juncture point of my life and my career with this character. And by the last pages of the book, I was teary-eyed. I wasn't expecting it, but I was really teary-eyed. It was amazing for me. But this character, has changed my life, and I think I'll always probably be associated with him.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that you're teary-eyed, because when we talk about creations and things we create, I don't think if you're a creative person, you realize where the emotion comes from. But when you're on the outside looking in and you talk about, how can someone get so attached to something like that? Can you walk people in our audience through that? What is it about a creation that you give birth to that it hits you on the inside? What is it that causes that attachment?
Well, all these characters live inside my head this entire time. I mean, the difference between a crazy person on the sidewalk and a novelist is, a book deal. We've all got voices in our heads that are screaming to get out. And so I've been writing this character and having him living in my head and sort of cataloging his observations all of this time. And I mean, Rabbi David Cohen / Sal Cupertine, the main character of these books, is not all that different from me personality wise. I'm not a violent person, but God, I'd like to be. So, having this outlet of a character who shares some things in my personality has been a lot of fun. But it's this entire world around it. It's his wife, it's his child, it's all these other things. And I've constructed these vast lives in my mind. And so they're just as real to me in my head as people I know and I love, because I have to give them that dimension. I think it's hard to conceptualize if you don't actually create art. Because maybe if you're an accountant, you don't stare at an Excel spreadsheet and think, that's my baby. I love that drop down menu, like that I did that and that was great. But, to try to convey real emotion and empathy out of a font face on a page requires me as the creator of these things to dig deep and find emotion. And that emotion all comes from a real place. It might be one thing on the page, but in my mind, it's coming from somewhere else so that I can conjure what that feels like. And so all of that is personal work. You can't subtract the person out of the creative process.
So in your mind and in your heart, when you create one of these characters, when do you know when it's time to bump one off? When is it time to get rid of them? Because obviously there is a connection. You've been their voice. You've said their piece. You've developed them to a point. When do you pull the trigger, so to speak?
Donald Westlake once said, he gave me a great piece of advice. I just dropped a name there. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, how do you know a story is over? So many years ago, we might have talked about this the first time I was on the show, but many years ago, I got to spend the day with Donald Westlake, it's like, spending the day with Superman.
Yep.
And I asked him, how do you know when a story is done? And he said, I know a story is done when the reader could write the next page. And it seems like a very simple piece of advice, right? Mm-hmm. But it's actually sort of profound. It's like when all of the mystery is gone, then the reader can figure out what happens next. And I really apply that to characters too that need to get shot. It's like when the reader can predict what they're going to do next, or when the reader it realizes like, oh, the main character would be stupid to let this guy live. Well, then that's when they've got to go. Sometimes I'll let a character live, even though, because people make bad decisions. But the thing that's, I think, unique about these gangster books is that in every single scene in which Sal Cupertine / Rabbi David Cohen appears, there's a threat in every single scene that he's going to kill the person that he's with. It is both a subtextual threat and sometimes an express threat. But in every single scene, you have to worry that he's going to kill the person he's talking to. And having that run through all of these books really gives it a tension that when he finally does kill someone, they got it coming, because you feel it all the way through. In this book, because it's the concluding volume of everything, I have to tie up a lot of loose threads, although I leave some threads dangling. It's not even always about killing. It's sometimes it's about letting someone go, because letting someone live is a worse fate for them than death.
Yeah.
And so these are things that I think about sometimes as I'm writing. And also, I mean, this is the problem, Tim, about like writing these books and then going to Trader Joe's. It's like, oh, I'm writing this book and now I need to go buy some yogurt. And then you're at Trader Joe's and someone cuts you off to grab the potato salad in front of you. And you think, I'm going to put you in that freezer.
Yeah. And then you're like, how many different ways could I put you in that freezer? And then you're like,
yeah, it's a real problem. It's a real problem for me to be able to turn that hitman off. Or, like I'll finish writing for the day and I'll come and I'll sit in my living room and my wife will be like, hey, you want to watch some TV? And we'll watch the Property Brothers or something. And I'll be like, if they don't make that door work, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to rip the Property Brothers fucking eyes out.
So I realize when you're in the writing process, it's hard to turn it off. But when you're between projects, I mean, obviously you turn it off, right? It's right. Not something that stays with you 24/7.
Well, I mean, this is the thing is like every character I've ever written still holds a piece of my brain space. So, like I wrote all those Burn Notice books a million years ago.
Yep.
And, now because of that, whenever I walk into a room, I look around and I'm like, what can I turn into a bomb if I needed to in this room? Because there's still a little bit of Michael Weston in me that's like, all right, well, if things go sideways, I might need to turn this light into a weapon. What would I use? Which is crazy. Like, I shouldn't think like that, but it's hard to turn off something that you train your brain to do for any number of years, right? I wish I'd trained myself to like exercise every single day. That would have been a better thing for me to train myself to do. But instead, I'm like, well, how can I turn anything in this room into a weapon? That's not normal and it's not good, but it's bought me this house that I live in.
I was going to say you'd make a hell of a Harlequin romance if the lead had to make a vibrator or something. That would be amazing. I just can't see. I could just see the building of that deal. Now, see, I lost my next question. I was just busy in your mind seeing how that lead would construct that. To me, and by the way, we are gonna talk after the break about this amazing sequence that you have in the book where Rabbi Cohen, Sal Cupertine actually constructs a bomb that absolutely blows my mind. There's a Burn Notice crossover here somewhere where I think
there really is.
Your worlds collided somewhere in there, and some amazing stuff happens. When it comes to this book in particular, when it comes to Gangsters Don't Die, the opening sequence threw me for a loop. And in that, you went back into time with Sal. And it sets up the book for the rest of our journey, in that you give a look into the psyche of Sal a little bit, and then coincidentally you set us up to get to know his son.
Right.
And that the sins of the father get passed down to the son. Not to give too many spoilers here, but you're setting up, I think, what's a good way of putting this, Todd? You're setting us up to see that really, is it nature or nurture? Is it genetics? Is it, how is it that we continue family lines? Is that a good way of putting it?
I mean, it's sort of also generational PTSD in a way.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's not a spoiler really, because so the opening chapter of the book is actually a short story that appeared in my book, The Low Desert, called Despair. And I wrote it as the prologue, but I realized at the time, this is a standalone short story. And it is the last day of Sal Cupertine's father's life. And so in the books, we know that Sal Cupertine's father falls off or gets pushed off of the IBM building in Chicago in front of Sal when he's a very young kid. And now we find out why. And it's because he was trying to get out of the life and was, trying to escape. And his cousin found him out and essentially was going to have him killed. And instead of opting to be killed, he jumps out the window on the 52nd floor of the IBM building. and goes splat in front of Sal. All of this is information that we know from the previous books, but we've never actually seen the scene itself. And you've never seen any of this from Sal's father's point of view, nor seen Sal as a kid. But what I wanted to show was that essentially there was a life for Sal Cupertine before that moment and then a life after that moment. And seeing his father go out of the IBM building and hit the ground in front of him turned him partially into this man that he became, because he had to be so desensitized to death, or else you'd forever be in that moment. And so it turns out that that's, it's something that he ends up sharing with his own son. And you find out essentially through the course of this book that all the Cupertine men are bent in a really bad way as it relates to violence, but also as it relates to family, and how the Cupertine men respond when the people that they love are put into danger. And that's a huge part of this book, is the relationship between Sal's wife Jennifer and her son William as they're in hiding, and what happens when bad things happen to Jennifer and how the son reacts to those things. But I like this idea of sort of generational PTSD because it's a real thing, like that's, I mean, this is the thing that I've been feeling a lot lately as a Jewish person whose family escaped from Ukraine in 1919. Like when that war started in Ukraine 18 months ago, however long it's been, and it was being fought in the same place that my family had escaped from in 1919, and they're showing these villages. Man, I felt like I had been there. I felt like I had escaped that place.
Yeah.
And then on October 7th, when Hamas killed all the Jews in Israel, well, not all of the Jews, but a lot of Jews in Israel, I again felt like this sort of generational ache that comes from being, an oppressed group historically. So that's a real thing, but it doesn't have to be about a large group. It can be familial PTSD is a real thing that is passed on in genetic code. I mean, it's why, we're scared of saber-toothed tigers. Hey, one of those ate one of us. We should be scared of that.
Right.
It's a big part of Darwinism. So anyway, I wanted to write about all of these things. It's weighty shit for a crime novel, right? But I think because of the kinds of novels I've written in the past with these books, where there's a huge aspect of religion that comes into play, and about faith and about nature versus nurture and all these things, I can get away with it in a way that I think perhaps a lot of crime novels can't.
Right. The brilliant, I want to say it, I don't want to use a bad term here, but in the wrestling world, they call it a brilliant gimmick, which is the disguise of being a hitman who decides he's going to hide under the disguise of being a rabbi.
Right.
Now, I know you've covered this in other interviews. Recap for us, for our audience, where that comes from. Why hide under the guise of a rabbi? So in the first book, Sal Cupertine kills 4 FBI agents and essentially is sold to another crime family to put him in hiding. And he's sold to a crime family in Las Vegas, where the Italian mob boss is married to a Jewish woman whose father, this sounds complicated, whose father is a rabbi. But it's all just a large criminal organization where they're laundering bodies through the cemetery, a Jewish cemetery. And in order to do that, you need to have a rabbi that's on the take. And so I had this idea of like, I'll tell you actually where it all came from, which is a weird thing. So this was when I had to write the short story in 2008. I had no idea what I was going to write about, and I was charged with writing about the neighborhood of Summerlin, which is where I had lived in Las Vegas for a few years. But I was living here in Palm Springs, where I live now, and I was stopped at a red light, and I was thinking, man, I'm going to have to give those people the money back because I have no ideas. And there's a very old Native American cemetery not far from the airport in Palm Springs. And I've lived in Palm Springs most of my life, outside of the first 14 years when I was in Northern California. And I'd never seen anyone walk out of this cemetery before. And so I'm stopped at this red light, and I see someone walk out of the cemetery.
And I was like, what? Like, they're not still burying bodies in there. Like, who's walking out of there? And then I had the thought, if I wanted to get away with a murder, what I'd do is I'd kill someone and I'd bury them in an old cemetery. And then I was like, wait, there's something there. I was like, all right, how could I make money from this? Oh, cemeteries run by the mob. Oh, the mob is burying bodies for other crime families. Oh, how could I even make this bigger? Oh, they're also selling body parts. All of this happened in the space of a red light, which is sometimes how it happens. It's just like all of a sudden things start firing and there you have it. By the time the light turned green, I had I knew it was a Jewish cemetery because they don't embalm at Jewish cemeteries. Mm-hmm. And so therefore the bodies would disintegrate very quickly. So that way if anyone came looking, there's nothing there. And so I was like, oh, perfect. And then the only way to make this work is not have the rabbi be Jewish, because then it's a bigger con. And it's absurd. On its face, it's absurd. But I was like, this is absurd. It's funny. And I can make it work. And if I can do these things, I'll have written a book no one else has ever written.
That's amazing.
And now here we are 15 years later talking about it.
That's amazing. I mean, just the parts you put together, put them in motion. It's mind-blowing. And when you read the series, it's just mind-blowing. It's completely mind-blowing.
Thank you.
And not only unique, but just the way that you've put this together, and when people read it, they go, "It's so crazy, it works. It works." And that how a police organization would even be able to track it would be hard. It would be extremely
very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the other thing, is that so I wanted to have a police procedural aspect to it, or actually an FBI procedural aspect to it. And I had to have that be believable, that they wouldn't get caught. And the only way to do that is to layer something in confidentiality. And synagogues and churches and cemeteries, like, these are places that are layered in legal confidentiality, where there is no expectation that you can go somewhere and talk to someone about the things that they've seen or done. And I love this idea that if you have a corrupt rabbi or priest and they're getting information from people, that it's still, just because they're corrupt doesn't mean it's not covered by the laws of confidentiality. Like, you can be a corrupt priest or corrupt rabbi and laws of confidentiality still apply to you. And so I was like, this is something I can really abuse. And that's the bad side of me. I mean, so I'm writing another book right now that came to me I won't spoil it, but it came to me because my nephew works at a law firm, and he told me about this very odd aspect of law firms, about safe deposit boxes at law firms, and I was like, you shouldn't have told me that. You shouldn't have told me that information, because I'm going to make $1 million and you're not going to get any of it.
There you go. But it's funny, because it's just an inkling of information that you can take and blow up and put it into an amazing idea.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's what great storytelling does. Not that I'm comparing myself to the greatest storytellers of all time, but like, when you think of the Wizard of Oz, for instance, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We all imagine like a hurricane sweeping us away, right? It's just like, it's a childhood fantasy. Oh, I'll get swept away by a tornado. But, it's Roald Dahl who's like, you get swept away into a land of munchkins and an evil witch and all these things. Mm-hmm. Like, that's that ability, I think, that artists have, which is to take simple fantasy and build a world around it. But I think that's what singers do. It's what painters do. It's what all artists do. I mean, it's what you do on your show on a daily basis, weaving stories out of, true crime or anything else, or just this conversation itself.
True. Very true. I tell you what, Todd, let's take our break here. When we come back, I want to talk about the dangerous aspects of having a hitman as a rabbi, and who gets affected by that, the collateral damage of what happens when you put a hitman in a rabbi's real role, because there are some very, very dangerous aspects to that, and how it affects people's lives.
Yes.
We'll talk about that when we come back. And one particular life that those two occupations affect, and it's one member of law enforcement, a woman by the name of Christy, and how it affects her life. Also, when we come back, we'll talk about Sal Cupertine / Rabbi David Cohen and the pitfalls he has to negotiate around in this book. He's in a mess. He's in a huge mess. And the mess that's left on his doorstep as he's trying to figure out how he's going to get back with his wife and son. They've been put into protective custody. And we'll talk to Tod about why and how he's going to reunite with them. They have a different perspective than he has. We'll find out the story behind that as well. This is a wonderful book, folks. It just is absolutely, it's from cover to cover. You're not going to want to put it down. It's a wonderful book. Gangsters Don't Die. We've got a link to it in the description of this program. Pick up a copy of it during the break. When we come back, more with Tod Goldberg. Gangsters Don't Die, right here on True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is author Tod Goldberg. One of the best of the best out there, folks. Let's face it.
Top five.
Top five. Let's go. Let's go top three.
Me, Biggie, Tupac, Nas, Eminem.
Were we talking rappers or authors?
I thought you said rappers.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah, one of the best top 5 rappers of all time. Tod Goldberg is on the program. Gangsters Don't Die. Well, 2 out of that list did. Just saying.
One would then question whether or not they're really gangsters.
That's true.
To wonder.
I suppose you could say one of them questioned whether he's even dead. He may be at a Dairy Queen in Kalamazoo or or in Cuba.
Tupac, if you're listening, let us know if you're really dead.
Yeah, if you would, please email the show, tim@darknessradio.com. We'd like to know. We'd like to be, and if you are, Keefe D is going up on charges that he doesn't deserve.
He's got some. Yeah, homeboy's got some problems. If you're alive, let him know.
Yeah, please. We'd like to spring him as soon as possible. If that's the deal.
Keep your head up, also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. We love you, Keefe. Peace. No, I'm kidding. I don't know Keefe. Do you, by chance?
No. I mean, I lived in Vegas, and I know some disreputable characters, but. Here's the important thing. I don't hang around gangsters who admit to crimes in their books.
Right. Yeah.
Like don't be surprised when the feds roll up on your house when you admitted to a murder in your memoir. Like, I was shocked that feds showed up. Well, maybe don't write about your murders in your memoir. Don't appear in every video on the internet talking about, I was there when we took out Tupac. Hey, guess what, buddy? They're coming for you.
Yeah. I'm surprised it took this long. You know,
That goes to the fecklessness of Metro Las Vegas PD.
And why now, Tod? I mean, let's take a little sidebar here for a second. Why now? What's the point?
Well, I think not that I have any inside information, but I think that he had been embarrassing Las Vegas PD for years by walking around saying, I was there. We killed Tupac. He wrote about it in his memoir. He's appeared in 1,000 interviews talking about it. And it just makes the Las Vegas police look like morons. So for whatever reason there was that they did not solve a crime where everyone knew who the shooters were, for whatever corrupt reasons Las Vegas doesn't do its job, it became a point where it was like the public knows who killed him. How does Las Vegas PD not know? They've got to make an arrest at some point. And so the only thing I can think is that, they've had so much bad publicity the previous couple of years for murders that had happened on their watch that they were like, well, we should probably solve Tupac's. Let's go ahead and do that. It's only been 30.
Let's clean that one off the slate.
Yeah, I mean, Las Vegas is a crazy place. I mean, there's an amazing journalist, Jeff German, that was murdered by a guy he was writing stories about, a corrupt city official. and the guy rolled up on his house and stabbed him to death.
Jeez.
And was almost immediately caught because of every single Ring camera in the neighborhood caught him walking up like with a knife.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh about that, but I mean, you know, in this day and age, you can't. It's not like you can get away with something like that. You know.
No, I mean, it's getting harder and harder for me to commit the crimes that I want to commit.
No, I mean, whoa, yeah. But you know, you even bring that up in the book. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
it's true.
It's damn near impossible to get away with a crime. And I won't cite where in the book it is, but law enforcement's even taking advantage of the fact that there are Ring cameras everywhere, and there are ways around certain constitutional rights.
Exactly. I mean, this is why I set these books in the past. So Gangsterland takes place in 1998 to 1999. Gangster Nation takes place 2000 to 2001. And this book takes place in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Because the expansion of facial recognition software would make it impossible for my character, Sal Cupertine, to be in Las Vegas. Because Las Vegas is the most surveilled city in America.
Mm-hmm.
But post Boston, almost every city is the most surveilled city in America.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how quickly we caught the Boston bombers. Like the press knew about him. There was some distance between the press and the police knowing who they were looking for. But they got that guy in 24 hours, the two guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
They knew exactly who they were within 24 hours. And that's in a city of millions, you know, with a giant crime scene, and they figured that out almost immediately. So it would be like you running someone through facial recognition software in Las Vegas, you'd find the person you're looking for very, very quickly. And that's why there's a ton of criminal activity that happens in Vegas, because people go there for like their last stand. And it's like they pop up on every database that anyone's looking at. And if they're looking, they're going to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, what kills me now, especially these days, is that we do have unsolved crimes, unsolved murders, that we have, well, let's face it, that we have missing children when you know, in the palm of your hand, you have a camera. People have cameras everywhere, and it seems like it'd be harder than usual for people to get away with crimes.
Well, and, you know, because of ancestral DNA, something I'm really interested in. I read a great book called The Forever Witness by Ed Hume, about the pluses and minuses of ancestral DNA. So I'm sure you talked about this on the show before, but you know, that's what caught the Golden State Killer. Mm-hmm. And they're using it over and over again to find other killers. But then there's sort of a constitutional question of, okay, well, why aren't we using it to catch rapists? Why aren't we using it to catch people who rob houses? Because the DNA is the same.
Yeah.
It's like we're only using it for a certain severity of crime. Like what's the most severe crime that we should use ancestral DNA for? What's the least severe crime? Because, you know, you're not going to rob a 7-Eleven if you know that your sister is on 23andMe, you know? So there's all sorts of fascinating stuff that's involved with ancestral DNA. There's just not enough people that are using it to find everybody, because once they start getting into that stuff, there's going to be a lot of cold cases that come unravel because of it.
Well, then how far are we away from, like, say, movies like The Minority Report, where, you know...
Not that far.
Yeah.
I mean, other than having psychics in tubs.
Yeah, true, yeah. Although that kind of sounds like one of those weird movies, too. But we're hunting out people based on their DNA, or based on, like you put it, psychics in tubs, or catching them before the fact.
Right.
They may have a tendency to want to commit crimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can arrest people for their thoughts, because if that were the case, you and I would both be in prison.
That's true.
But I mean, I'm fascinated by the use of this DNA stuff, because it's going to change the way law enforcement works, but it's also questions of privacy and civil rights and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of stuff wrapped into it that the laws and the Constitution simply are not prepared to deal with.
Very true. Very true. Before the break, we were talking about the role of Rabbi David Cohen and Sal Cupertine in this dual personality, or if you will, and dual occupations, and how one probably isn't good for the other and vice versa, and how they interact with certain people in the community, and how collateral damage can be done to certain people in the community. And it even affects, to a certain point, even though you would think it wouldn't, with a for lack of a better term, a hitman and slash psychopath, because you can't kill 100 guys or 100 people and not be some sort of a psychopath. But it doesn't.
No.
You don't think so?
I mean, you gonna tell me that every drone pilot that fights from a bunker somewhere in the Nevada desert, killing insurgents across the country using a drone, is a psychopath?
I think if you can detach yourself pretty easy, there's something not right there.
I don't know. I mean, are you going to say that every single person who fought in World War II is a psychopath?
No, because the people who fought in World War II, and I'll tell you, my grandfather fought in World War II and had a heck of a case of PTSD at the end of it. Yeah. So
and they had a reason. Like they had a reason to fight, right?
Right.
So let's maybe Vietnam. Vietnam seems like a purposeless war. Like those guys came back fucked up because they didn't have a purpose.
Right. But I'm saying, it's one thing to, I mean, we're splitting hairs here, Todd. It's one thing to.
I'm just playing Sal's advocate.
No, I hear you. It's one thing to, be a member of the mob and go out and continue that lifestyle for profit. Right. It's another to be fighting in a war and be enlisted.
Right.
Or even volunteer.
Well, I mean, it's all war, depending on how you look at it. There's chain of command. You're being told to go kill a guy, you kill a guy. What's the difference? Like, if you're enlisted in the Marines or you're enlisted in the mob and the job is to go kill a guy, you kill a guy. How's it different? But
you're killing one guy to put anywhere from $10K to $100K in your pocket, and in another, you're killing a guy to survive on a battlefield. I mean, there's quite a difference.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Like the gang and the government, there's not that big of a difference. We take orders, and if those orders are kill a guy, does your brain know the difference between whether you're working for the mob or you're working for the United States government or any government? I don't know.
Mine does.
But I mean, like, dude, historically, this is true. Like, the rise in organized crime post World War I and post World War II was profound because there were all these guys coming back from war who now had a special set of skills,
Sure. Yeah.
And either found out that they were good at killing or they didn't have a problem with killing and therefore found themselves, back in the neighborhood working for the guy running numbers, happy to go break legs because that was nothing compared to what they saw in France or whatever.
Sure.
So there is this connection between organized crime and the rise of organized crime and war that I think is interesting. Of course, we used the five families in World War II essentially to spy on the Italians. But I mean, the reason I say all this is, of course, self-serving, which is that, I mean, I don't know if he's a psychopath because he loves somebody, right? And can you be a psychopath and love somebody? I don't know. You can't be a sociopath and love somebody.
You can go through the motions of loving someone, or you can value someone. I had an interesting conversation with a psychologist once on serial killers, and they said something interesting when it came to their child. And it was this: they didn't feel like they loved their child, but they would literally kill for them.
Interesting.
It's an interesting emotion. It wasn't that they didn't. It wasn't the emotion that they had for them wasn't love, but it was almost like a form of ownership.
Right.
So
attachment of some kind.
An attachment. That's exactly what it was. I will do anything for them, but the emotion wasn't love.
Right. Like, I don't want to dent my car, but I'm not in love with my car.
Right. Exactly. exactly.
I don't want to, like, I would be really pissed if I hurt my car
Mm-hmm.
or if my car blew up. I'd be really pissed, but I don't love it.
Right. And although in this book you attach a love between Sal and Jennifer,
Right.
I can almost argue that the want to get his wife and child back are a want to have his possessions back.
Oh, interesting.
A want to have his old life back. A want to attach humanity back in a world that's chaos.
Well, I mean, like, look, that's the essence of crime fiction, right? Is bringing order to chaos. Like, that's why I read crime fiction. That's why, like, during the pandemic, every night I'd go to bed watching a true crime show, because at the end of that true crime show, they caught the killer, you know?
Yeah.
And then chaos was restored to order, and I could finally go to sleep and wake up tomorrow in another chaotic world where we're not allowed to leave our house. That was very soothing for me during the pandemic. But that's also the reason why crime fiction, I think, is so popular, both in books and TV and film and true crime as well, is that people love to see chaos reordered, you know?
Yeah.
There's a real attraction to that. So you might be onto something, but I think when you get to the end of the book, you will find that you are wrong. I think you will find that everything you believe is wrong.
Well, we won't spoil anything now.
Wrong.
But let me get to where I was going with the original point, and that's this. So you've got the Rabbi David Cohen, Sal Cupertine, same individual, two different occupations. A rabbi is there to be a spiritual counselor, to heal, to guide one through their journey through life, and to be there to consult, to build up. This hitman is there to tear down.
Right.
He's there to do damage. And he has to coexist within these two occupations. In comes FBI agent Christie, who has had a battle with cancer, and in her lowest point has come to Rabbi David, who has counseled her. Now, I want you to take this from here, Todd, and tell us how Christie has leaned on Rabbi David, who's come up with some really good advice for her, but at the same time, now she's chasing Sal.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
So Christie shows up in the Low Desert first in a short story called Mazel. And in that short story, which you can find free online, I put it up on my website so you don't have to go by Low Desert. I mean, you should go by Low Desert, but it's also free online. Christie finds that she's dying of cancer, and she goes to the synagogue to pick out a cemetery plot. And she meets Rabbi David Cohen, and they end up having a kind of beautiful interaction in this short story that then turns very dark when she breaks into the cemetery and encounters Sal Cupertine. And Sal Cupertine lets her live in Mazel.
Yeah.
This is one of those situations where you think, oh, Sal Cupertine's about to kill this person, and he lets her live. But she reveals to him all of her concerns. For instance, all the people that she's killed, all the people she's had killed in her role working in the FBI and in naval intelligence. And he really gives her good advice and, tells her to hold on to the good in the world and to look for Mazel, which is faith. And then in Gangsters Don't Die, she essentially is the hero of the book. She is the main person searching for Sal Cupertine throughout all of this book. And while at the same time interacting with Rabbi David Cohen, not realizing they're the same person. And what happens for her in this novel is mirroring what happens to Sal Cupertine, is that she realizes that she's two different people. She is this person of burgeoning faith based on the teachings of Rabbi David Cohen, and she realizes she is a hard-ass FBI agent who must bring down Sal Cupertine for the bad things that he's done. And when she figures out at some point that they are the same person, what's going to happen then? How is that going to affect this character? But I have to tell you, Tim, Christy is based on a real person. Can I tell you a brief story?
Yes, please.
So Christy is based on a friend of mine named Christy Cade. And I met Christy online 23 years ago. She was a fan of my first book. She was the only fan of my first book. My first book got really, 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 really bad reviews for good reason. It wasn't a very good book. But Christy was a fan, so I immediately found her, sought her out, and we began a correspondence that lasted over 2 decades. So we just became sort of like pen pals, essentially. And then when social media showed up, she friended me on Facebook, and we would talk on Facebook, and we would DM each other. And I never met her in real life, but over the course of this time that we were friends, like, I learned about her entire life. She'd write me and ask me for advice, and I'd give it to her. When I first met her, I think she was 19 or 20, and she was in a very abusive relationship. She just had a baby. I think she had dropped out of high school, but she loved books. And so I would tell her, like, oh, this is a great book. This is a great book. And she started reading a ton. She eventually went and got her GED, and then she went to college, and then she got her master's. This is all during this time that we're having this this sort of pen pal relationship for decades on end without ever meeting in real life. Mm-hmm. And she eventually became a rep for the 20 some odd years we knew each other. And I would send her my new books as soon as I finished them. Like, she wouldn't have to wait for them to be published. She was my number one fan. I'd send her the manuscript.
Wow.
So when I was writing The Low Desert in 2020, she emailed me and she said, I have a really rare cancer, and I don't know that I'm going to live to see The Low Desert come out. Will you send me the stories as you write them?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, Jesus Christ, of course. And so I was sending her the stories as I wrote them. And one day she wrote me and she said, I had an incredible thing happen to me today. Maybe you can use it. And I was like, okay, what happened? And so we were DMing back and forth. And she said, well, I was coming back from chemotherapy today, and I realized that I might not ever have hair again, that I might die before I have hair again. And I wanted to feel the wind through my hair one last time. And so I was speeding on the freeway to feel the wind rip through my hair, and it was pulling the hair off of my head as I drove. She's like, but it was such an amazing feeling. And she said, right up until the cop pulled me over. And I was like, oh God. And she's like, and this is Florida. Like, I didn't know what they were going to do. Like, they're going to beat me and throw me under the bridge. It's Florida. God knows.
Yeah.
And she said, the cop came up to the window and said, what are you doing? Like, you're going 85 and a 55. And she said, I'm going through chemo. I'm losing my hair. I wanted to feel the wind through my head one more time.
Yeah.
And the cop said, get out of the car. And she says at this point, she's like, I'm going to get arrested for reckless driving. So she gets out of the car, and the cop hugs her. And he says to her, I'm not going to let you die today. I'm not going to let you die by speeding. But you're not going to die from this cancer. You're going to kick this cancer's ass. You're not going to die today. You're not going to die from this cancer. And he just held her and let her go. And then he said, drive as fast as you want. I'll drive behind you.
Oh my gosh.
So she's like, can you use that? And I was like, yeah, I can use that. I can use that. And so I wrote a scene in Mazel where she encounters the Rabbi David Cohen, and they essentially had that same conversation. And he lets her live. So I did that in honor of her, and then she survived. She survived, and she saw The Low Desert come out, and it was great. She really got a thrill out of that. And then I was working on Gangsters Don't Die, so this was in 2022, and she emailed me early in 2022, and she said, my cancer is back. She'd been in remission for 2 years. She said, my cancer is back, but I feel like I can beat it. I was like, oh, that's great. That's great. And I didn't hear from her for a couple of weeks. And then a friend of hers emailed me and said, I don't know if anyone in her circle knows that you guys are friends. I have no idea if anyone she knows that you know each other. But I know, because I read books, and I'm her only friend that reads books, and I know that you guys had this special relationship. I needed to let you know that she had died. I was like, oh my God. And she's like, the cancer was intense and it overtook her within 2 weeks and she died.
Oh my gosh, Todd.
And I was like, oh my God. And I was so heartbroken. And this is a person I never met in real life. I'd never even FaceTimed with her. I have a vague notion of what she looked like from her Facebook photos.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make her the hero of this book. I'm going to make her the character that really stands out in this book and in this series. You know, I'm going to turn her into the hero that she should have been. And so that's what I did.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm glad you did. That's a great tribute to her.
Yeah, she was so wonderful, and she had surpassed so many hardships in her life. And you know, cancer is insidious, but I wanted to show that I wanted to show her as a hero. I wanted to show her as a bald, badass hero.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Well, God bless you, Christy. That's I'm glad that she's forever immortalized in your book. That's
makes
amazing.
you feel good.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, Todd. That's kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
That's great. That's great to know. And it's good that you told that story. I'm glad you told that story here, and I hope you tell that story in other places as well. And that
I've been trying to tell it as often as I can because I want people to know her. You know.
Yeah.
And like that's a good character that I wrote, but I wrote it out of such heartbreak. You know.
Yeah.
There's a scene later in the book that you'll get to shortly where you'll see that heartbreak really in full force. But you know, this is the thing is, you know, when you asked me about you know how long do I keep these characters around or whatever it was, like some of these characters are real people to me because they're real people.
Yeah.
And you know, writing a book is a time machine in a way where you're putting your thoughts from a moment in the past, always a moment in the past, onto paper in perpetuity. And the notion that she's always alive in this book really makes me happy.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. One of the scenes, I'm going to switch gears here while we kind of absorb that. I want to switch gears here to something that I alluded to earlier in the program where one of your amazing series crosses over into this series. Again, the how do I make a bomb out of something? And I told you before the show that this scene absolutely, from the beginning of it to the culmination of it, I was absolutely astounded. There's not very much that's put on the written page where I see it in my mind and it's so vivid that I just go, oh, from the beginning of it to the very end of it, and marvel at its genius. And it's, well, you know what? I'll let you take over from here, Todd, because you know the scene I'm talking about. And it has to do with a point in time where Rabbi Cohen / Sal Cupertine realizes that he's being pulled in by a friend, Jerry L. Ford, into a situation that he knows is going to get him in Dutch. And it's going to get him in Dutch with the family. And he's been asked to help clean up a situation. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so Jerry Ford, for those of you who have read the books, he owns the Body Farms Life Corps, which is a legitimate business that sells body parts or moves body parts for medical research or for medical purposes. This is a real job. But he also is in the black market moving body parts for a variety of people, including the synagogue and the Russian mob, as it turns out in this book as well. So he's got a problem in that a warehouse that he operates, the power has gone out and the bodies have begun to rot and leak into a swingers club and a cop bar. It's bad to laugh at my own work, but just remembering writing it is so absurd to me. But what I really knew I wanted to do, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I won't reveal too much, but I knew I wanted to blow up a part of Las Vegas. And I wanted to rain body parts on the streets of Las Vegas. And I wanted it to be a big sort of set piece. But I didn't know how to do it. I was like, how can I possibly blow up like a giant warehouse? And so I was sitting here at my desk, the very desk that Tim can see me at as we speak on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And on this day, my mother-in-law happened to be over, and she was in the kitchen with my wife. And I knew that part of this warehouse, the front of it was a dental office, and my wife's mother had been a hygienist for her career, and her husband had been a dentist. And I was like, I wonder if they know anything. So I get up from my desk and I go into the kitchen. I'm like, hey, Mom, if I wanted to blow up like a city block, what could I use in a dental office to do that? And not even like, it didn't take her 30 seconds. It was immediate. She's like, oh, the autoclave. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, yeah, a big industrial autoclave. If it's a big practice of a very large autoclave, you could take out a city block with that. And I was like, tell me more. Tell me everything. And she's like, well, with all the combustible chemicals in there, oh my God, yeah, you could really crater downtown Las Vegas. And I was like, let me get a pen. And so my mother-in-law told me how to build this bomb, essentially. And so I write it, and I give her a copy of the book, and she's reading it. This was months later, and she's like, Todd, how did you know that what you could do with that autoclave? And I was like, Mom, you told me. She's like, I did? I was like, don't you remember? I walked in the kitchen, you were standing there, and I asked you how to build a bomb. She's like, well, you come out and ask stupid questions like this all the time. I had no idea what you were going to use.
Well, come on. I mean, you come out and ask questions, you don't expect that you're just going to let it fall by the wayside, right?
Yeah, sometimes, it ends up being on the cut file. But, oh, God, yeah. So I won't say any more because it's an important scene in the book. Right. But, man, that's one of those scenes, too, where as a writer, it's just like, I'm going to have the funnest time of my entire life writing this thing. Absolutely.
And it is fun. I'll put it that way. It's descriptive. We'll put it that way. It's descriptive. It is. It's a scene that you probably don't want to eat before you read it,
or during or after,
or after. And let's just say Christy's put through her paces during that scene.
Yes, Christy earns her wings there.
Yep. So it's a very good scene. It's one of the best scenes I think I've read in quite some time, probably in a few years. So it's very entertaining. We'll put it that way. It's a good way of putting it. Well, Todd, I tell you, I don't want to give away too much more about the book. I want people to go read this book because this book is amazing. It's amazing. And it's a fitting tie up to the Gangsterland quartet that's out there. And I think not only will people be satisfied with the way that you've wrapped up the series, I think they're absolutely going to love it. I think that this is a great book. And again, I'm enthralled with it. I think you've done some excellent work here. Now, can we? You've mentioned now that you have some people in line to turn this into. Is it a television series, a movie? What would be
a television series? Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is that we've had since the short story was written, it has been under option the entire time.
Okay.
So someone has been attempting to make this into a TV show or a movie since 2009.
Wow.
But the group that we've got with it right now, who I can't reveal, but it'll eventually be in the trades, make some amazing television shows. And this would be an amazing opportunity. The team that I had before was great, too. I was working with Eric Overmeyer, who runs Bosch on Amazon. And he was great. And we had a great partnership working on the show together. But Amazon ended up spinning off Bosch into Bosch Legacy. And that was sort of that, unfortunately, for Gangsterland. But that, this is how it happens when you work in Hollywood. Nothing is guaranteed to you. There's a lot of moving parts, and a TV show isn't a book. It's not something that costs a few $1,000s. Well, several $1,000s. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars if it goes for a long time.
Right.
And so I'm realistic about the chances of anything getting made, because I always think of it like, oh, I've walked up to Ford and handed them a drawing for a new Mustang. Like, hey, why don't you go ahead and put this into production?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like if they just let me in for a meeting, I feel pretty happy about it.
Oh, good. Now, I know earlier in the program you had said that you were a little hesitant to put the cap on this deal and end this deal because you knew that with a TV series coming that there may be the idea that there'd be multiple seasons of this TV show. I got to ask you this question, because one of my favorite shows over the years has been The Walking Dead. And we all know that Walking Dead never went according to how the graphic novels went or the comics. It split off. It had its own timeline. It had its own characters. It had things that were unique to the TV series. Do you see something like that with Gangsterland, where it could be its own entity on its own? Or do you feel that you would try to follow close to what the books have done?
Well, the nice thing about the books is if they just followed the books, you probably could get 5 seasons of TV out of it. But this is the thing, is that it's a different medium entirely, and the creators of a TV show need to have the freedom to do what they want to do. And so I would never say, in whatever role that I have in the making of a TV show, I would never say you can't do X, Y, or Z. That's the showrunner's creative vision, not mine. Mm-hmm. That's what you sign away, is that creative control. But that being said, I've also created through the Low Desert a lot of B stories and tendrils that go out. I mean, you're going to have things that don't exist in the books in the TV show regardless. But there's a lot of opportunities to investigate other things. I think the important thing, though, is understanding that, these are books that are a satire of the mob, not a celebration of the mob. Mm-hmm. And I think just like pretending to be a rabbi for so long, you become a rabbi.
Yeah.
I had pretended to be a satire of the mob for so long that it became mob books. I wrote books making fun of the mob, but even though you're making fun of it, it's still the mob. Mm-hmm. And there's some level of realism that has to come into play, but it's like I've taken the notion of what organized crime does and taken it to such an extreme. Oh, they're going to buy a cemetery and make a rabbi. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
Until you find out what the mob is actually doing, and some things not so dissimilar. So I think a TV show has a lot of opportunities to go a lot of different ways. And of course, to look into the personal lives of the FBI agents and the wives and all that stuff. There's a rich tableau. What I can say, and this is something I learned actually working with Eric Overmyer when we were working on the show for Amazon, the way that The Wire has been so successful, it was giving weight to every side of the story. Mm-hmm. And for a show like this, I think that's the possible way to do it too, is by giving weight so that you never know who the hero is. Or there is no hero. Right. It's all part of a system. I mean, which is, essentially what I'm talking about, that we are a gangster land, that we are uniquely set up as a world where the rules of the mob are the rules of America, where it's no longer about, the American dream. It's about getting away with it. Yeah. Yeah. All of these notions of organized crime are the notions of, TikTok fame, right? So I think all that to say, I think a TV show could examine all these things culturally, and sociologically and character-wise, and really be successful. I mean, I hope so.
I think so too. I think that would be kind of a refreshing look, especially with the satirical slant.
Yeah, it's got to be funny. I mean,
yeah,
the books are funny in my point of view.
Yes, yeah, yeah, very much.
So I think the show has to be funny too. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I mean, it may never ever get beyond wherever it is right now, but someone else will own it eventually, and someone else own it eventually, and someone else own it eventually.
I think it'll see the light of day. If you think about it, we haven't had a real. It's been a few years since we've had a real good gangster program.
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
Was always a good one. And then, in fact, the people that make Peaky Blinders owned this for a little while also.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
All right. This is the long and torturous journey of, Gangsterland to TV. But Peaky Blinders, I mean, it's period, so it's a little bit different, of course. But there's not been a great mob show in a good long time. I'm ready for it. I am ready.
I am too. Yeah, it's I don't know. I've been kind of feeling the hole in things since Sopranos left the air. So
yeah, during the pandemic, I rewatched The Sopranos, and it is a really goddamn good show.
Yeah, it is. And, really, and I miss the tongue-in-cheek humor in Sopranos too. So.
Like I rewatched the Pine Barrens episode, when they lose the Russian in the snow.
Yep.
What a bizarre episode, and what an amazing piece of work, like an amazing piece of narrative. And they never, ever, for the rest of the series, pay it off.
Nope.
It's great.
Yep. Yeah, that it is. Well, folks, again, one more time, Gangsters Don't Die. We have a link in the description of this program. Again, I encourage you, go get a copy right now. And pick this book up, and I guarantee you're going to pick it up. You're not going to want to put it down. I will make you a bet. You pick up this book, you'll be through it in 3 days. It's that good. You're not going to want to put it down. You're going to want to read it from cover to cover, and you're going to want to get through this book. So it is that good. The multi-talented Tod Goldberg, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Always happy to be here with Tim.
I can't wait for your next project, man. I hope you would come back and discuss it with us. So,
well, if the A's are in Las Vegas, I will.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we'll have to do a thing where we'll do like if we can hit it on the right day of the year, maybe we can go to a Golden Knights, A's, and Raiders game, and
perfect.
And we'll spend our 401ks doing it.
I'll let my wife know.
I know you'll probably have to get permission first, but definitely we'll do that. So I want to thank you so much, Todd, for being on the program today.
My pleasure.
Well, the mood's already been pretty light, but let's turn it over right now and bring in Beer City Bruiser. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, the time you've all been waiting for. It's time for Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. And for that, we got to have a co-host. So we bring in the man with the plan. Boy, he's got a lot of plans this week, too. The BCB, the big cuddly bear himself, Beer City Bruiser. Bruiser, thank you for taking some time out this week. It's a huge week, man. WrestleCade week. So we're gonna wrangle you in here. Tell people real quick about WrestleCade. What's going on with you this weekend?
Oh, WrestleCade is probably the largest wrestling convention that I know of, that I've been a part of. 10,000 people a day come through. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and yours truly is returning to the ring Saturday and Sunday. So not only am I part of the creative process and the agent and producing part of it, but I'm now going to be wrestling too. So I've been in the ring, I've been at the gym, I've been on creative calls, I've been recording with you, I've been just getting it all ready so the fans can have the best possible experience with not only listening to us, but if they come to visit me at WrestleCade, they can come back and maybe email you and go, Cruiser, it was amazing, it was awesome.
That's right. Well, not only can you see Bruiser in person, but you can also watch on Title Match Network. We have those links at darknessradioshow.com in the events section. So everything's covered there. You go there, you can check it out. You can see it for yourself.
And I'll be with the Title Match guys. In fact, that's who I have a meeting with after we're done recording, is the Title Match guys, to go over creative and camera positioning and the best layout for the building we're in. So the backstage stuff of the underwater needlepoint world.
There you go.
Kind of stuff you're familiar with.
Yeah. So there you go. Interesting stuff. So we'll talk more about it on tomorrow's show and let you guys know exactly. Again, if you want the skinny on everything, even the list of events, some of the guys you can see out there at WrestleCade this weekend, again, go to darknessradioshow.com, click on events. It's right there when you click on the events page. The list of events, the people who are going to be there, you click on the links, that'll take you to WrestleCade.com.
Yep.
You can get your tickets there. You can check out all the wrestlers that are going to be there, the dignitaries, everybody, including Bruiser. Huge.
That schedule's down to the hour too, with every podcast that's going on, every meet and greet that's going on, every guest that's going to be there. It's like I said, even if you're not a wrestling fan, you're just maybe you used to watch it as a kid. Well, we got those guys coming too.
Yeah.
Maybe you only watch ECW. Guess what? Those guys are coming too.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want to come and make fun of me. You can do that too.
Well, I don't know about that, Bruce. I don't think they're going to come love you up. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you. Let's jump into Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals for the Day. Boy, classic edition. That's all I got to say. 2 words. Classic edition. Evidently, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, people are going to get the stupid out of the way so they can enjoy their dinner. That's all I got. That's all I'm thinking here. We'll start off in Georgia, right close to you in that area of the country there, Bruiser. Kroger. Do you have the Kroger near you?
Not near us, but I've been to Kroger before. That was a lot in Missouri. There's a lot of Kroger. I remember when I lived in Missouri, there was a lot of Kroger.
Yeah, this one is in the Atlanta area. This teenage grocer evidently didn't take math in high school and didn't take accounting because he didn't figure the way he was going to embezzle at Kroger would ever be caught.
So he's like, hey, I hear about this embezzling thing all the time on HBO. I want to give it a try.
Yeah.
I didn't know I need to know 1 + 1 = 3.
No, not at all. And he figured the way he did it was so innocent that well, let's just say you're going to get caught eventually. Let me explain it to you, Bruiser, as to why this is the stupidest way you can get caught embezzling from your grocery job. A teenage grocery bagger started working at Kroger and processing lots of quote-unquote returns.
Oh, okay.
In just 2 weeks. The only problem is nearly $1 million was missing in that 2 weeks.
A little too much. He took a little bit too much of the pie.
Yeah, I think Kroger will notice $1 million missing in just 2 weeks.
I think so too. Like if you just took a spoonful of pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving, okay, whatever. But you take 3 or 4 slices of pumpkin pie. It's like, hey, who ate the pie? Come on.
3 or 4 slices. I think $1 million is akin to, 4 or 5 pies on Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's a little much. A teenager hired to work as a grocery bagger at Kroger has stolen nearly $1 million worth of goods in the space of just 2 weeks, according to police. Here's a problem. He's only 19, kids. 19-year-old Trey Brown had only just started work at the popular supermarket when cops alleged that he began stealing goods. Oh, Trey. Trey. The teenager from Atlanta, Georgia, was accused of pocketing $980,000 by returning non-existent items, making more than 40 fake transactions in the space of 2 weeks. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. 40 fake transactions, $980,000, and you don't think the accounting department at Kroger is going to go, something's wrong here.
Yeah. So someone needs to be investigated.
Yeah. He then allegedly used the money to buy clothes, guns, and cars because you should be balling when you got $980,000 of Kroger's money.
And I'll guarantee you all over his Instagram and Facebook's him holding the guns with the cash going, look what your boy did.
This is a Kroger Glock, yo. Detectives in Gwinnett County, Georgia, then claimed that Brown began making false transactions immediately after he was hired by the Kroger store in December 2020. He didn't even wait, Bruiser. He didn't even get through the training manual before he started embezzling.
He sat down, and the first thing was how to do transactions, and he went, oh, okay. I can make some money.
Or, okay. Just saying, you're balling when you're taking that much money.
Well, yeah.
The false items ranged in price from $75,000 to $87,000. Yipes.
Wow, at Kroger?
What kid? Really?
That's a lot of Snapple.
The Snapple is expensive too. The bakery department, I don't think there's a gold foil cake at Kroger you can buy for $87,000.
No. What is he buying?
I don't know.
Is he having people come and buy a bunch of shopping carts?
Boss, I sold the back room. $87,000. They're coming to get it.
Hey, boss, you know that can of Coke that's $800,000 no one can sell? Guess what? Your boy sold it.
I got scales. $75 to $87,000 with the money then transferred to several credit cards, according to cops.
Okay. So he's spreading it out.
That's right. That's right. Police said at the time they believed that Brown started with smaller transactions, but then got more ambitious as he continued to get away with it. Speaking to local Fox affiliate WAGA, the Wagga. You can't ride my little red Wagga. Police Corporal Colin Flynn said this person who was stealing decided to go real big. You think?
You think?
This employee was essentially creating fake items, taking those items and returning them to a credit card he had and just making up prices for those items.
Oh, so of course you buy the Snickers bar for $1.49, but you return it for $500,000.
Yeah. Inflation.
Exactly.
We've all been hit by it this year, Bruiser. I mean,
we have.
Yeah. Phyllis, why is this loaf of bread $13,847? They say in accounting.
If he was smart, he would have stolen a bunch of Cadbury eggs and blamed it on the dude that stole all the Cadbury eggs before, and that's why the prices were so high.
That's right, Bruiser. Now, now you're thinking.
See, if he would have listened to our show, we would have helped him get away with this.
That's right. He would have totally got away with it. It seems like this is a rare case where things snuck through the cracks and the person was able to get away with a large number of money in a short period of time, said police. Brown was alleged to have splashed out on clothes, guns, shoes, and 2 vehicles with the cash, one of which he totaled before his arrest in January of 2021. So he crashed one vehicle. He needed another, Bruiser. It's just simple.
It's the easy math.
It is.
You crash one car, you buy another.
That's right. You got
and you know what? Your Twizzlers paid for it.
That's right. He got Kroger money, son. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like
that's what it says on his Instagram when he's standing in front of that brand new car, holding that brand new Glock, holding up the bottle of Pepsi.
He says, "I got Kroger money, son." Like to thank Mr. Kroger for the new whip. Yep. Cops said a large sum of money was returned following Brown's arrest. God, I hope he didn't go through it in 2 weeks.
You never know.
He was charged at the time with theft by taking as opposed by theft by giving. I think that's a holiday in the hood, isn't it?
Yeah,
theft
it's
by
called
giving.
Thanksgiving, right?
That's right. Which lawyers said was likely to be deemed a felony under Georgia law if more than $500 is at stake. Really? It only takes $500 of theft in Georgia to get a felony?
That's common around. Huh. I thought it was 600, but yeah, I guess it is 5. It usually goes whatever what the taxes are.
Okay. The punishment for such a crime is a prison sentence of between 1 to 10 years. What do you get for almost $1 million? Interesting.
He's 19. He'll be out soon.
Well, in his life, yeah. I mean, it's such a young life. Even if they gave him 10 years, he's out by the time he's 29.
Yeah, and he can come out and say he was a kingpin at Kroger.
That's right. And then he just goes over to another store and starts all over again.
He goes to the Red Owl and bankrupts it.
I made $1 million, son. Imagine what I could do for you. God, that's horrible.
He's in the interview with something you're very proud of. I stole $1 million from Kroger.
They never saw it coming. Oh, Florida, you shoot real straight and true. Our next story, I know now that I woke everybody up with the national anthem of Florida, has to do with, by the way, never date anybody from Florida who looks like you could probably drive them to school, Bruiser.
Oh, yeah.
You see
you
that?
have a mullet?
Yes.
Or is that shadow?
That's a mullet on a young Florida woman.
That's a woman?
Yeah, drink it in, Bruiser.
That looks like a 13-year-old boy from 1982.
Well, she acts like one here. This is a Florida mistress who shot into the car of her sugar daddy's girlfriend and infant child.
Oh, you can't do that.
No, you get negative points for this one.
Yeah, that ruins it with your sugar daddy.
That's true. A Florida woman who was the mistress of a man she referred to as her sugar daddy Literally almost is the age of her daddy, I believe. Probably.
Yeah.
Is accused of firing a gun into the car of the man's full-time girlfriend, all while the girlfriend's infant child sat in the car.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
I'm going to have you guess what that, after seeing that picture, how old this girl/woman is.
Well, my gut instinct is 18, 19, but in Florida with the seawater there, I'm going to go 29.
Okay. The seawater. Zara Percy, the alleged shooter, used the man's gun in the act. Per authorities, the Daytona Beach love triangle violently collapsed outside an apartment building on November 4th when the 20-year-old Percy.
20, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
20-year-old Percy. She looks darn young for her age.
I was going to say, she gets carded everywhere.
Yeah, she's 20 going on 12.
That's a nice mullet, though.
It's a beautiful mullet. My 16-year-old person is very jealous right now.
I was going to say, my 8th grade picture's mad right now.
Yeah.
It's not a great mullet in 8th grade.
Oh, I had a beautiful spike mullet, Bruiser. I really did.
I did too. I had going through the years, it would go where it was real nice, and then I'd shave the sides. I had the steps in it at one point in time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, mine was spiked. I had it permed in the back. It was spiked into curly, my friend. It was...
There you go.
Man, I was a wild child. I was... Yeah.
My dad had the classic perm mullet where it just looked like a helmet. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I
remember that smell walking in the house, like, oh, Dad's perm in his hair.
Yeah. When I told the animal that, from the Road Warriors, when I told him that I had spiked going into curly, he just said, "Bro." You could tell.
That's what he had.
I had freak factor number 9 going there. He was like,
nice.
"Yeah, bro." Yeah, I knew I'd found a soul brother there. Anywho, so Sarah Percy, we're back on Sarah Percy. I know his boyfriend, her boyfriend was.
Her boyfriend.
I said his. Oh my God.
Now, how old? Hopefully, it tells you how old the boyfriend is.
Oh, we're getting there, my friend. So the 20-year-old Percy found out the man she was seeing had a full-time girlfriend, so she got mad.
Yeah.
The victim said she went to pick up dinner from Wendy's at around 9 p.m. She was out a little late.
Classy.
Yeah. Well, Wendy's is kind of classy. You know, you can get the white napkins.
Oh, you can. You're right.
That's very classy. Yeah. And the packets of ketchup are individual.
Oh, okay.
And they're foil. So, you know. Yeah. I suppose for a 12-year-old, that's pretty neat. Just saying. So she went to go pick up dinner from Wendy's at around 9 p.m. on November 4th when she saw a silver car parked outside of her house, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by Law and Crime. She told authorities that she had seen the car pass by the residence before, so she approached the vehicle. Oh, bad idea. As the unidentified woman parked next to the vehicle, she saw Percy exit the apartment building. The woman's boyfriend, who is also the father of her 1-year-old child, was walking with Percy, she told the authorities. According to that, as the victim got out of the car to confront Percy and her boyfriend, according to local CBS affiliate WKMG, somebody nearby shouted, "She has a gun." Police said what happened next occurred rapidly. As the victim ran back to her car, Percy allegedly went to the trunk of her vehicle, hauled out a gun, and started shooting at the woman and toward her car where the 1-year-old child was seated inside. At least 2 rounds were fired, police said. Percy was not apprehended until last Friday, according to WKMG, when she was pulled over for a traffic stop. Officers asked to search her vehicle for the gun used to shoot at the woman on November 4th. Percy told them where to find it, so to speak. She had given it back to the man in the middle of the 2 women, her sugar daddy, she said. Interesting sentence.
Yeah.
So she gave it back to the guy.
Yeah. Why did it take so long for them to arrest her? They knew who she was.
So what? She was like, "I'm sorry, I fired on her daddy," and gave him the gun back?
Yeah. Like, "Hey, sugar daddy, I'm sorry I almost ended the life of your child and your other lover. Here's the gun back. Can I have my allowance?"
I guess, right?
Here, hold this. You did that.
What a weird story. Investigators reported confirming that Percy was the man's mistress. The 20-year-old woman was detained and released on $5,000 bond.
Okay.
What a bizarre story.
That's a very bizarre story.
Okay. Huh. Let's move on. Because I don't think I can wrap my head around that one anymore. This story is a story that you would think you would only hear in spy novels and weird whodunits, Bruiser.
I've been hearing a lot of those stories lately.
Yeah, but this one happened right here in good old Waukesha County, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Yep. A woman in Waukesha County, Minnesota has been found guilty of poisoning her beautician with eye drops.
Don't eye drops make you puke? I know they make you puke. I know you can be poisoned by them.
Yeah, I guess you can.
Mental note, don't piss off my hairdresser.
Right. Are you going to a lot of hairdressing appointments these days, Bruiser?
No.
Okay.
I go to Great Clips. I don't have enough up there to afford a hairdress.
I was going to say, my hairdresser is me. It's just me and a Gillette razor. 39-year-old Jesse Kurcheski had been on trial for murder in connection with the death of her friend, 62-year-old Lynn Herman. According to the court, which adjourned and resumed on Tuesday, when the jury deliberated for nearly 4 hours before finding the defendant guilty on one count of first-degree intentional homicide and 2 counts of theft of movable property of more than $10,000 but then less than $100,000. The prosecutor said Kurcheski stole nearly $300,000 from the beautician. Kurcheski, who was sobbing as the verdict was read aloud by Judge Jennifer Doro at the Waukesha County Courthouse, faces a maximum sentence of life imprisonment for homicide and an additional 10 years for the theft charges, which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years each. Her sentencing hearing is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. on December 7th, according to court records. During a news conference following the hearing, Deputy District Attorney Abby Nicoli thanked the witnesses and jurors for their service. She said her office was seeking justice for a life that was unjustly taken. The defendant betrayed Lynn out of greed, she continued. This case highlighted the financial vulnerability of the victim and what a person will do to get what they want. A close friend of Miss Herman's, Anthony Pazza, probably one of the only Italians in Waukesha, Minnesota, I can tell you that much.
How is a beautician making $300,000?
You got me. I have no idea, bud.
Like, I know inflation, but like what, for a blowout, is it $100,000?
Well, in certain circles, depends on the blowout.
Like, how are these people figuring out all these money? Like, what are you and I doing wrong?
I don't know. I don't know what I've done with my life that I'm not making $300,000 for anything these days. Anthony Pazza, a close friend of Miss Herman's, also spoke at the conference alongside the deputy district attorney. He said
the only Italian in Waukesha County.
Yes, the only Italian in Waukesha County. He owns the Italian restaurant and the gun dealership. He described his auntie as someone who was not a loner in the life of most get-togethers. I don't know what that means, but then he, gave the chef's kiss whenever he talked. He said he'd been waiting 5 years for justice. Miss Herman was killed in 2018. She was a compassionate, humble, and very generous person, he added. According to the criminal complaint, officials were called out to Miss Herman's condo on October 3rd of 2018 after Kurcheski called 911. Kurcheski told officials her friend was not conscious or breathing. A responding officer observed a large amount of crushed medication on Miss Herman's chest and on a plate located on a table near her. A large amount of prescription bottles was also found near Miss Herman or Hernan. Officials initially thought that the victim had overdosed from the medication. In January of 2019, the Waukesha County Medical Examiner reported that the victim had a fatal dose of tetrahydrozoline in her system, which is the main ingredients for eye drops. As a result, the medical examiner concluded that Miss Herman's manner of death was homicide.
Okay. That's got to take a whole bottle of eye drops, though. Have you ever done the joke where you put an eye drop or two in someone's beer and it just makes them sick?
No.
Yeah, I've seen that joke played. Watch this, they'll throw up. And it's like 20 minutes later, you get sick. That had to be the whole bottle of eye drops. And those are not big bottles either.
Really? No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Weird. I got to think again. A lot of our listeners who have sent in stories this week, Tom, Tony, and all the gang. I know I'm skipping some names here, but a lot of you have sent in stories for this week. I want to thank you and much appreciation for those of you who have sent in stories this week, including this story, Bruiser.
Okay.
Which I believe Tony sent this in. That's where he's going to hide, or that's where he's going to hide? It's a question mark. Golfers trap a police chase suspect in a porta potty.
Oh, well, thank you, golfers.
Yeah, really, right? Two neighbors had just started a round of golf at Lincoln Park Golf Course, where they play some great music, by the way, in Glendale, Arizona, when they witnessed an arrest in a porta potty. It was part of a scene that unfolded Wednesday in which two people were arrested after four occupants fled from a vehicle that crashed into multiple others on Northport Washington Road. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Glendale Police in Minnesota. Another Minnesota story,
Huh?
I guess the weather is nice enough now for us to get unruly. It's on Northport Washington Road. A vehicle Glendale Police said was stolen from Plymouth, Minnesota. A Glendale police officer first spotted the stolen SUV driving south along Northport Washington Road around 11:30 a.m. Wednesday. Glendale Police Captain Tom Treader said, or it could be Treater too. Treater, you don't need her. Hey, as the officer turned to approach the SUV, it took off. An officer further down the road put down tire deflation devices on the pavement. The vehicle swerved to avoid them and crossed into the northbound lanes of Port Washington Road, striking another car, then careening across the median and into a barrier along adjacent Interstate 43. All four occupants fled the car, with two running east and two running west across the Lincoln Park Golf Course. One of the suspects who ran east was taken into custody by Glendale Police Whitefish Bay neighbors. Elisa Boland and Adam Westmayer were on the golf course when they heard the loud crash on Port Washington Road. A few minutes later, they saw two people run past them, Boland said. They witnessed one of the suspects fleeing west, running towards the woods beside the course. The other beelined for the nearby porta potty, she said. God, this sounds so Minnesotan. We're looking at each other like, are you serious? That's where he's going to hide? Boland, a realtor in the area, said. Boy, there's a blatant...
Oh, she called him out. Like, really? Come on, dude.
You're going to get caught.
Like, Ford, look at this jackass.
They then probably started hitting balls at the porta potty to give cops...
They went and put a picnic table in front of the door.
Just a trap.
Which is a lot of fun if you ever go to a festival. Mm-hmm. You know, they got the lot of porta potties.
Yes, yeah.
Just put a chair or a picnic table in front of just one of them.
Oh,
that's occupied.
God.
Oh, so fun.
Especially in the middle of summer. That's just rank.
Oh, I know.
Oh. The golfers watched a police car hurtle past them, and Westmeyer approached the porta potty. Finding the door locked, he walked to the back and pushed it over, trapping the suspect inside. So it wasn't a self-contained one. It came off its moorings like an old goalie net. Trapping the suspect inside since the door now faced the ground. Oh, he was self-contained. Oh.
So not only did they trap him, but now he's covered in just porta potty goo.
Good luck, man, Westmeyer said before walking away. Oh, my God.
I am porta potty man. You enter my porta potty of doom. The police shall get you.
Once officers arrived at the scene, they rolled the portable toilet over, allowing the suspect to crawl out before he was taken into custody, Glendale police said. Authorities are still searching for the other two suspects who fled from the SUV. You know, Bruiser, there's a story here locally on KARE 11 News that was talking about the fact that in the last 10 years, suspects that flee based by county are up almost 300%.
I believe it. People think they can run from the police now. You can't.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't run. You just make it worse.
And throughout the metro area, it's gotten worse. Twin Cities metro area. Specifically Hennepin and Ramsey counties, which are the Minneapolis-St. Paul direct counties. And they tried to put out stuff like, well, people are afraid to face the police. I don't buy that at all. I think what it is people think that they can get away with it. In fact, they had one, I believe it was a sheriff's deputy that was on, Hennepin County Sheriff's deputy, who said that when they cornered a suspect, they said that they believe that the police don't have the right to chase you.
Yeah, I've heard that story too.
Yeah, that they're supposed to let you go.
Because around here, it's motorcycles. A lot of motorcycles speed off. And they heard that the thing was, they can't chase you if you're on a motorcycle, which is not true. They can, but they have to factor in public safety. Yeah. Police can chase you no matter where you're at in the country.
That's right.
You run from the police, they can chase you. And then if you get away from the run, they still know who you are.
Right.
And they're still going to get you.
Not only that, but the other thing is they also believe, some of these dumb criminals believe that when the police chase them, they don't have the right to do anything that could be potentially injurious. In other words, they can't lay down a strip, one of those spike strips, or they can't use a maneuver that will knock them into a ditch. That's not true.
No, if you're in a car, they can use spike strips. They can use the pit maneuver. The only time they can't use that is when you're on a motorcycle, because that could be deadly. But that doesn't mean they're not going to chase you.
Right. They can do whatever they have to do to subdue you, and it doesn't matter what the charge is.
Exactly.
Once you're fleeing, you're a suspect.
And 9 times out of 10, they're pulling you over for a simple traffic stop.
Yeah.
You make it worse by running.
That's right. You do.
Because I had a little bit of marijuana on me. No cop's taking you to jail over a little marijuana. They're going to write you a ticket, give you a summons, and the way that the courts are nowadays with marijuana, they're just going to give you community service. Maybe pay a fine.
Yeah. The jails are too full to be busting people who are high on marijuana.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's 9 times out of 10. That's why the people run.
Yep. Yeah. It's people who aren't experienced with the criminal system. They just aren't. This next story, again, submitted by our wonderful listeners. I can't believe this. I'm even reading this, but the headline itself is laughable. A Tennessee man is arrested for a DUI while driving Santa's train at a parade. Because Santa's got to be jolly, right?
Wait, you can't be drunk in a parade?
No. That's normally the first thing that parade officials check for.
Dude, I was drunk all the time, but I wasn't driving anything. I was just sitting on a float.
They don't check for that, but when you're driving in a parade, the parade officials generally check to see if you've had anything.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a breathalyzer, but they generally take a good look at you to make sure you're not inebriated.
Santa's like, hey, I got to be jolly. Had a shit week, so this is how I'm being jolly.
A man has been arrested for driving a Santa's train under the influence at a parade in Tennessee. The unidentified man was reportedly a vendor at the Claiborne County Christmas Tractor Parade on November 11th. It's always a tractor bruiser.
Always.
It always is. According to the Tazewell Police Department, the man was giving youngsters rides throughout the town. I bet he was. Footage posted online showed a man driving a red tractor with multiple carriages bearing the words Santa Choo Choo being spoken to by officers.
You just can't trust the Santa anymore.
You can't.
Normally it's just you can't trust mall Santas. They're the ones that are always drunk.
Yeah.
But now we got parade Santas too. Come on, guys, you're ruining it for us.
That's right. The police department said later that the arrested individual faced charges of drug possession and driving under the influence. It is important to clarify that vendor hiring is not under the city's jurisdiction. Vendors are independently contracted and their selection is not managed by the city, the department said in a statement. Despite this, the Tazewell Police Department responded swiftly to the incident, ensuring the safety of event attendees. The rapid action taken by our law enforcement underscores our commitment to public safety. Thousands of people had attended the event at the weekend. The department added that within the 8th-mile radius of the parade, there were 14 police officers on foot patrol, so they could run down the tractor and beat them to death.
I was going to say, A parade's the last place you want to commit a crime because every single police officer in like the next 3 counties is there.
That's true.
Because every parade has a cop car and a fire truck.
The statement also added, public safety is paramount on any day at any time, and this event was no different. It is unfortunate, but the police officers did their job and protected everyone involved. By the way, if you're going to get drunk, give us a pull. No, I'm kidding. They didn't say that last part. I'm just joking there.
Just don't do it with kids. Let the kids be. Don't put the kids at risk.
Yeah, the kids are the last thing that need to be put at risk during a parade. Just give them candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. The only thing you're putting at risk there is teeth.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Just give them candy canes.
That's right. That's right. This next story, of course, is coming from Florida and comes from our listeners as well. Florida teens break into a house. Now, of course, you think they're going for the money. They're going for the jewels. They're going for anything that's laying around, maybe your spare pills, whatever you got, right?
Or they're just going to party.
Or going to party. Well, they ended up stealing an electric shock chewing gum toy. They were aiming low, Bruiser.
Well, it was their fault that they broke into the local magician's house. Who owns the magic shop, joking magic shop up the road.
That's true. Deputies say things just happened.
They just happened.
They just happened. We go to Marion County, Florida, where 2 Florida teens were arrested after they allegedly broke into a woman's house through a window and stole an electric shock chewing gum toy and a set of screwdrivers, the value of which is about $15.80.
Yes.
18-year-old Jeremiah Smith and a 17-year-old suspect were arrested and charged with residential burglary, petty theft, and criminal mischief after the incident that unfolded in the 2600 block of Northwest 110th Avenue in Ocala on Monday ended horribly. Fox 35 News is choosing not to name the other suspect due to his age and potential embarrassment at school. Deputies.
Hey, you're the kid that got busted because he shocked his tongue.
Hey, you want to see a disappearing magic act? Look, I'm going to walk away from you, nerd. Deputies were dispatched to the home in Ocala, where after a woman reported a burglary in progress at her house, she said she saw 2 male suspects walking around her home on the home surveillance system. The woman was not at the home at the time of the alleged burglary. When deputies arrived, they saw the 2 teens walking down the driveway. They bolted into the nearby woods when they noticed the deputy. However, they ultimately came out and agreed to speak with deputies after being detained. The 2 teens had a backpack that contained a set of screwdrivers, an electric shock chewing gum prank toy still in their original packaging. Oh, at least they didn't break the seal. Maybe it can still be returned to the magic shop.
Like, hey, here, just take it back. Give it back to them.
Jesus.
Hey, man, if I want a pack of gum, you want to take it? Yeah, sure. Let's go. That's what we're here for.
Gotcha. The homeowner said these items belong to her and are valued at $50. Liar. She also said the teens likely gained access through a large window they broke, which would cost $800 to fix. The window cost more than what they got.
Exactly.
The teens admitted to deputies they broke the window to get inside the home. They also said they were riding around on their dirt bikes when one of them ran out of gas. So, of course, they got to have it inside the house.
Well, they were going to go pulling off the electric gum to get gas money.
Ah, yes. And the spark from the electric gum would have restarted the bikes. God.
They thought it would restart the bike.
After Smith ran back...
That's not how that works.
Oh, okay. Sure. I don't know. Isn't that where the alternator is? I don't know. After Smith ran back home to get a gas can to fill up the bike, they decided to check out the woman's home after realizing nobody was home. Smith said they didn't go up to the victim's home to break in, but things just happened. God. Smith has since been released after posting $14,000 bond. He'll earn from that.
Oh, yeah.
The custody status of the 17-year-old is unknown at this time because evidently his parents didn't want him back. You embarrass this
parents
family.
Are like, really? $50? Really?
$800 to break a window. You're an embarrassment. Your Uncle Stu is doing life for murder. You're in there breaking windows.
Be like your uncle. Next time you do it, just murder somebody.
Murder the guy for taking you in the house for $50. We stay in Florida, where an armed Florida woman invaded her ex-boyfriend's house while he was in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. That's the best time to invade.
That's right.
Forget waiting for him to be at home. Wait till they're taking a nice, healthy dump.
Catch him on the crapper. That's how you rob him. I think that's a rap song, isn't it? Catch him on the crapper, watch him, rob him while his friend's watching.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think so. That was Biggie, if I remember right. A Florida woman has found herself behind bars after entering her ex-boyfriend's house, threatening him with a gun and stealing cash from his dresser. According to the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, 33-year-old Kiara Strickland. I'm going to show her I'm going to show you her picture, Bruiser, and tell you, never date this woman right here.
Ooh, yeah, she's crazy.
She looks like she'd rob you on the crapper, doesn't she?
Yeah, she probably their first date. He's like, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom." She's like, "Leave your wallet."
Yeah.
Huh? What?
He's like, "I gotta go to the bathroom, baby," and she's like, "I'm gonna make note of that."
How long do you poo? Okay, I can steal this.
She's got the cell phone out and she's timing him when he goes in.
I have this much time.
She's got the in and out markers marked on the cell phone. 33-year-old Kiara Strickland was arrested and charged with home invasion robbery with a firearm after the incident that unfolded Tuesday in Palm Coast. At around 9:20 a.m., Strickland drove up to her ex-boyfriend's house with her 3 children in the car because if you can't show the kids how to do a good robbery while daddy's on the crapper, well, then by God, you can't teach the kids anything. That's part of homeschooling 101 right now, Bruiser.
It is.
There's your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, your calculus, all that other crap, and then there's home invasions. And home invasions.
That's part of the PE course, right?
That's right. That's part of PE. Home invasions while daddy's on the crapper. Because mama's got to get that rent somehow.
We're going to play a joke on daddy. You all stay in the car. I'll be right back because he's pooping.
This is how mama gets child support. Just kidding. Ladies, don't try that at home. I'm not saying try that at home if you're not getting child support. I don't think that that's how you get it. Strickland, oh my God. So she had her 2 daughters in the back seat while her son was in the front seat. So by the way, that's how you stack them if you're going to take them over for the, for the home invasion.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are we doing, Mommy? Well, your father just decided to take a dump. Oh, okay, Mommy. Now what? You children wait here. I'll be right back. I have to go get diaper money.
Daddy's a whack-ass hoe. He don't pay his child support. Mama gonna go get this money.
Hey, somebody here? Hey, I heard something. I'm pooping.
I'm pooping.
Somebody here?
Just stay on the toilet, baby. Everything's okay. If you don't stay on that toilet, I'm going to put a new hole in it. Strickland allegedly grabbed a black semi-automatic pistol from the passenger seat, the same area where her son was sitting. He was.
Honey, can you hand me that 9mm? Thank you. Thank you so much, dear. Oh, you don't play with these. You don't play with these, but you give them to Mommy.
You don't touch the safety. He was literally riding shotgun.
Mommy, where are you going with the gun? Daddy and I have to have a conversation.
That's right. And then she made her way inside the home. The door was unlocked for an uninvolved friend, the report said.
Oh, okay.
So Daddy was 2-timing and not paying that support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to get a good old dump out of here before my mistress shows up.
That's right. He had to clear the beach before the fun began. Strickland's boyfriend was in the bathroom when he heard the front door open, but he didn't know who it was until Strickland appeared in his bedroom. She then said...
She didn't hear the flush and be like, oh, I got to get out of here. He's all done.
No. She then asked him while pointing a gun at him, "You got anything for me?"
Yeah, I just flushed it.
I think he said, and then ran back in the bathroom and did a second dump. He said, no. Strickland made her way to the top left drawer of his dresser and grabbed between $50 and $100 in cash. She knew he kept cash in his drawer.
And what's this? Huh? What's this? My going out money? Like, what are you doing?
What's that? Evidently, that's yours. The two were in a short-term romantic relationship that ended in September. Strickland and her 3 children lived at the home, but haven't been.
They're not even his kids.
Oh, they were under his roof.
She's trying to get child money from not baby daddy.
That's right.
You said you'd take care of us no matter what.
They were under his roof. His kids.
Yeah.
Strickland and her 3 children lived at the home, but haven't been in contact since their relationship ended. The man has since changed the locks. Probably a good idea. And probably start using the locks.
Yeah, and start pooping with the door open.
That's right. After Strickland grabbed the cash, she got in her car and sped off, according to deputies. Deputies also caught up with Strickland's son at school, according to the affidavit. I think you're in for some CPS violations, lady. Just saying.
Excuse me, son. Is it true that you handed your mother this gun? Yes, officer. Why? Well, we're gonna have to arrest you for aiding and abetting in a crime. You're going to preschool jail.
I also know how to load it and how to put the safety on.
Mommy said always hand it to her with the safety on. Safety first. It's not a toy.
He said his mom drove him directly to school that morning. She was being responsible.
And gave me $50 for lunch. I said, Mom, what am I going to do with $50?
She said, wash it through the school. I have no idea what that means, officer, but... He said his mom drove him directly to school that morning, but appeared to be nervous and scared while speaking to law enforcement, the affidavit added. The boy's attendance pass had an entry time of 9:32 a.m. Ring camera surveillance from neighbors was in line with the victim and witness accounts, the affidavit also went on to say. An arrest warrant was issued and Strickland was found at her house in Palm Coast, was placed under arrest. A search warrant was served and the gun and stolen cash was also recovered. Strickland was ultimately admitting to the crime and was transported to the Sheriff Perry Hall inmate detention facility where she remains held without bond. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh boy.
They didn't arrest the kid, huh?
No. Kid was cleared. But I hear he was cheeking the extra 25 that she stole. He's a good kid. Does as he's told.
He's making sure mommy has something when she gets out.
That's right. Mama's got to have a little extra spending money when she gets out of the stir. We move on. A forklift operator stops a car thief by lifting a vehicle 20 feet in the air.
Good for him. I'm okay with this.
Yeah. A quick-thinking forklift operator stopped a would-be car thief in Ohio. Workers at Arlington Auto Wrecking were ready when Alexander Funk showed up at the junkyards to steal a car. Employees said this was the 3rd incident involving Funk. You can't fake the funk, especially on a master dunk. That's what I hear.
Exactly.
Yeah. He broke into a car at the junkyard, and before he could get out, he's done it before. That's a run-on
Why would you
sentence.
break into a car at the junkyard? How do you know it's going to run?
Faith, brother, faith.
You know what I mean? Like, shit, this one's not working. Next one. Shit, this one's not working.
That's why you bring the electric shock gum. Because, you could start anything with electric shock gum. I'm telling you. He says they got the forklift and they had him I'm not kidding, 20 feet off the ground. So when they got there, we went right into custody, an employee said. That's a direct quote, too. While Funk was allegedly trying to steal the car, the forklift operator lifted the car up, trapping Funk about 20 feet in the air. The workers then called 911, and the operator had a laugh when they heard the suspect had been caught. I'm glad they found some humor in it.
I would. If I would have shown up and there's a guy up there, hey, you can arrest me, just let me down, I'm afraid of heights.
I would have taken that seriously, Bruiser.
Oh, yeah? You would have been like, whoa, I'm way up here.
Well, let's let him down. I'm kidding. I would have left him up there. Let him shit himself. Wonderful. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard, the 911 operator said. We will get somebody out to you. And then they laughed and laughed and laughed. When officers finally showed up, the forklift lowered the car to the ground and Funk was taken into custody. He was charged with criminal trespassing and possessing criminal tools and being a criminal tool. I don't know why the guy didn't I suppose depending on how they lifted him up, if they went, if they just went under the car and lifted him up, or if they went through the window and lifted him up. why you didn't just crawl out of the car on top of the car and climb down the forklift.
Because there's someone in the forklift who might like dunk me on my head. You know how quickly those things can tilt forward and dump something?
No, true, I guess, but...
And no offense, I don't want to get into a fight on a forklift.
Yeah, but that's the stuff movies are made of, man.
It's true. He should have Jason Statham that whole thing.
Yeah, you should have Jason Statham that, just get out of there. We are almost to the not safe for work portion of our program, folks. We're one story away. This is like the monster at the end of the book. We're letting you know that it's coming up.
There's a monster at the end of this book.
That's right. So steel yourself, kids. STEL yourself. It's coming. And boy, when I say it's coming, it's coming. It's a raucous ride today at the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So prepare yourself.
Oh, I'm prepared.
Yeah. So get ready to turn down those listening devices. Get ready to pop your earbuds in. Get ready to get the kids out of the room or the boss out of the room. It is going to be obnoxious today. That's all I got to say. But first, this story. Now, we've warned you before, kids, don't call 911 about your stolen drugs.
No, never.
Don't call 911 to get your drugs purified. Don't call 911 to have the police involved in your stolen drugs whatsoever. But yet, Bruiser, there's another woman who looks like she doesn't know any better.
She looks like completely naive to the world.
Doesn't she look like Sally Suburb?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she does.
Who's called into the police and told cops about her pinched pot.
I hate when my pot gets pinched.
Again, folks, for the umpteenth time, do not call the police to report that someone has stolen your drugs. Especially if your name is on a pair of outstanding arrest warrants.
Oh, God, yeah. You should know.
Yeah. Cops were dispatched around 2 a.m. on the 16th of November to a Best Western in Stewart, Florida.
Of course.
In reference to a theft. And it just gets better.
Okay.
Upon arriving at the hotel, an officer spoke with 23-year-old Lily Rinker. Yes, her name's Lily. And she can't believe her pot's been stolen.
Someone stole my pot.
Who had called 911 to report that a male friend that she had met last week stole her marijuana. Oh, Lily. Lily.
They stole my weed.
Officer, I have to report a theft. It seems someone has stolen my marijuana. I'm just wondering how fast you can get here. I've got a description of it. It's brownish green and it's very, very leafy. It's the dankiest of the dank. And it was the stickiest of the icky. It was so, so sweet. And
it was the Maui of the Wowie.
It's the Mauiest of the Wowie. I'm just wondering if you can get it back for me.
The whole reason I checked into this Best Western is because I just wanted to go on a bender. And it's hard to go on a bender when you don't have any weed.
We were going to smizoke the shiznit, if you know what I mean. So if you,
he said puff, puff, pass. So I puff, puff, passed, and he took off.
That motherfucker.
That's not how it goes.
That motherfucker ran for the hills. So I'm just wondering.
It was puff, puff, see a bitch, and I don't know why he called me a bitch.
I'm not a biznitch. I listen to my hip hop.
Those warrants, let's ignore those. Let's get my weed. Then we'll deal with the warrants later.
So I'm wondering if I call a popo, will you slow his ass down? And just get my weed back, please? That'd be great. Yeah. Upon arriving at the hotel, an officer spoke with 23-year-old Lily Rinker, who had called 911 to report that a male friend she met last week stole her marijuana.
Of course.
Rinker explained that she had $30 worth of pot, so it was the good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
In her grinder. But after Carlos departed the room, she noticed about a half a gram was missing from her stash. Who buys half a gram of weed for $30?
I think she had more.
Who buys more than half a gram of weed for $30?
I don't know, man.
That shit's going to give you a head. She bought oregano.
Yeah, she should. Florida's, you can be medical, right? It's medical, I think. So just find someone with a medical card, get the good stuff.
I don't think Florida's medical yet.
You don't think so?
No.
Either way, find somebody to get you the good stuff. It's everywhere now.
So about a half a gram was missing from her stash. Rinker stated she did not know what to do, so she decided to call police. I think if they were medical, she wouldn't have called police.
You think she would have filed?
She would have just went down to the dispensary and got more.
True.
Yeah. Rinker, whose home address is listed as an apartment complex in Jupiter, was questioned by a Stewart Police Department officer who determined that she had a pair of open arrest warrants in Palm Beach County. According to court records, one warrant was issued after Rinker failed to show for court hearings in connection with an outstanding criminal mischief case. The second came after Rinker did not appear on a probation violation hearing in connection with a DUI conviction earlier this year. Rinker is being held without bond on the warrants. It's unclear if she will face a pot charge in the free state of Florida, where absent a medical marijuana card, possession of less than, it is a medical state.
So it is medical, okay.
Possession of less than 20 grams is a misdemeanor. More than that amount can constitute a felony. Rinker was arrested last year for allegedly striking her father in the face during an argument. Nice gal. Rinker told cops she became upset upon learning that her parents had posted online a photo of her holding a vape. Rinker noted that she is a college athlete and could not be seen holding a vape. Well, then what are you calling the cops about your stolen weed for? Prosecutors...
She doesn't know.
Oh, Jesus. Prosecutors declined to pursue a battery case against Rinker, who played golf for the University of Cincinnati and Eastern Florida State College. So let me guess, the weed cleared up your glaucoma so you could see the 18th hole better. Jesus. All right, folks, it's that time. It's time now for the Not Safe for Work portion of our program. Turn down your listening devices, put your earbuds in, get the kids out of the room while you're listening to this program with kids. I have no idea. Parent of the year, you are. Let's get this going in 5, 4, 3, 2. Here we go. Cops have arrested a man for a lewd act done atop a dead marsupial.
Oh.
We're starting it off big.
Yeah, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that koala bear. Hey, how you doing over there? Oh, you're dead, huh?
Koala bear?
It's a marsupial.
A koala bear is a marsupial?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought they were. Somebody can correct me, but I thought they were. All right. Hey, kangaroo. What you got in your pouch there?
Kangaroo.
Oh, you're dead, huh?
We're staying.
Let me feel what that feels like.
We're staying in America, Bruiser. We're not going overseas. This took
a possum? A possum's a marsupial,
yes,
right?
there we go. A possum. Thank you.
I know you're just playing dead. Come here. Come here.
I know you.
Oh yeah, I know you're just play dead. Play dead. I said play dead. Yes. You like when I stroke your tail?
Oh,
yeah, you're playing dead. You're playing dead.
No,
Wait, you're really dead? Oh shit.
Oh no. In the long storied history of American jurisprudence, these words have never been previously appearing in a police report or court filing. Here we go. The defendant was observed defecating on a deceased opossum with his pants lowered and his anal region exposed.
Because, shitting at a dead possum is a new fad. It's a new TikTok trend.
Yes, it is. Well, it's better than dancing. You don't ruin your knees.
Well, yeah, all that squatting.
It's the new squatty potty. The defendant was observed... Oh, I don't want to read it twice. That unusual and repulsive incident transpired around 5:30 p.m. on the 16th in full view of the motoring public during busy traffic times on a street, of course, in Clearwater, Florida.
You gotta go. Quick, honey, pull over. Why? I gotta shit. There's nothing around. There's a possum. I'll shit on the possum.
45-year-old Rudy Wilcox, now known as the possum shitter.
Oh, he looks like a possum shitter. And I guarantee you he's a meth head.
Yep. Yeah,
you don't get scabs like that on your skin without doing meth.
That's right. That unusual and repulsive incident is what police allege that 45-year-old Rudy Wilcox was observed by an officer doing, relieving himself upon the late marsupial as rush hour traffic passed by, Bruiser.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's going to show them what for.
Yep. Zach,
Excuse me while I shit on this possum.
after being read his rights, Wilcox denied the allegations and contended that the officer doesn't see straight.
Wait, what?
Yes.
That won't me shitting. You can't even see straight.
However, as the affidavit states, physical evidence was viewed at the scene, which corroborates the allegations alleged. In other words, oh, I see straight, son. That shit on a possum.
I may not see straight, but I smell. And that's a dead possum with your shit on it.
That's right. I don't think a possum shit's that big. At this point, readers, viewers, listeners, whatever you are, you may commence to gagging. Wilcox was arrested for exposure of sexual organs, a misdemeanor, and booked into the county jail on $150 bond. That's it. He remains behind bars as of this writing. Evidently didn't have the $150 to literally cover his shit.
That's an expensive shit.
Yeah, it is. But by the way, when he gets out, he has a Charmin endorsement.
He shit on a possum, not a bear.
As the dog answers in the background. Don't use me! All right.
No, she's probably barking, I've shit on possums before. It's fun.
It's fun. You ought to try it sometime, Dad. I'm going to show you this picture right here.
Is she crying?
I think she's smiling. She's weeping with joy. Now,
It looks like a forced smile. Like you're being arrested. Don't be sad.
that's right. Don't be sad. Don't cry. Don't cry. It could be tears of joy, though, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. Now, I want you to look at her carefully, Bruiser. Would you?
No,
Okay. All right.
that's a man.
No. The woman. The woman.
Yeah, the woman's a man.
No, you think so?
Look at her neck.
No, I could have a dirty iPad. I'm just saying.
You just fixed everyone confusing trans women by just cleaning your iPad.
Take a look again. I could.
No, I wouldn't. I would not. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. She's still too manly for me.
Okay. All right. So this next story may throw you for a loop then. That one's an awkward transaction between the two of us here before I read this story. But funny, very funny.
Yes.
Let me read the headline. First, I got to take a sip of something because I just blew my throat out. That's what she said.
That's a trans woman.
No.
Yeah, that's a trans woman.
You
I
think
think
so?
so. Yep.
Think so?
Yep.
Well, let's find out. A couple is arrested for a fully nude Florida frolic.
Well, if you're going to go fully nude, why not go Florida? Weather's great.
It's true, it is. It's highly illegal, though.
Yeah. I didn't say it was legal. Shitting on possums is illegal, but I ain't stopping that guy.
A 55-year-old woman has said she's dreamt of public sex. You're gonna laugh when I tell you where, though.
Okay. Like, public sex is fun, but you have to hide it.
Well, and you got to pick the right spot. And
Yeah.
the spot she picked, let's just say she's watched one too many Godfather films.
Okay.
After being caught having fully nude sex on a Florida causeway, look what they done to my boy. I just think of Sonny being shot down by the causeway every time I read this story. After being fully caught having fully nude sex on a Florida causeway in front of children and other witnesses, a woman told cops it was always a dream of mine to engage in such a public tryst, while her male companion showed zero remorse when collared.
Yeah, because he got, he's like, hey, I got off.
Yeah, I slipped it in, no big deal.
What? Now you're taking me someplace where I get fed? Awesome.
Hickory dickory dock. He needed the money. No, I don't know. After receiving multiple 911 calls around 9 p.m. on Friday, sheriff's deputies responded to the causeway in Dunedin, a Gulf Coast city, and discovered a couple having fully nude sexual intercourse in the presence of the victims, which included a pair of juveniles who were probably going, look for the Adam's apple. Look for the Adam's apple. Much like Bruiser just did.
Can we go partial nude? Let's do partial nude. We don't need full nude. Partial.
Hey, old folks, you're too pruny for this. You're too pruny.
Hey, man, $10 a month, Planet Fitness. Look it up.
Oh, God. Oh, for the love of God. On the side of the causeway, cops found 55-year-old Sarah Fazakis and 60-year-old Robert Clark fully nude on top of one another. Are you sure he wasn't pinning her?
He won.
He won. Clark, cops say, was on his back with his genitals fully exposed. Evidently, she won. Meanwhile, the mother is on the side of the road going, they're just making peanut butter sandwiches.
You think if the cops showed up, the guy put up a finger and went, hold it. Hold. Okay, come arrest us.
Yeah, and I'm good. I don't know why I made that second noise. A witness or wetness described the pair's encounter as crack to sack going to town. And it's in the arrest report as that.
Hey, man, his schmecker was going crack to sack. Like, it was great.
Crack to sack going to town. Fazakis and Clark, both of whom purchased Florida condos in 2021, are, let's just say, a little randy. While being taken into custody, Fazakis stated, this was always a dream of mine, referring to having sexual intercourse on the causeway.
What a weird dream.
She says, surrounded by water, the causeway offers spectacular views of St. Joseph Sound.
It sure does. You just ruined it. Some kid's never going to be able to go to the causeway again without getting an erection.
Some kid's going to start having tremors every time he sees the St. Joseph Sound.
He's just going to walk up and be like, oh, we're in St. Joseph's. Why is my wiener tingling?
All I see is floppy tits and sack to crack. Sack to crack.
There's schmeckles everywhere. Schmeckles everywhere.
Schmeckles. Along with an exposure of a sexual organs count. Yeah, they counted. There were two. Fazakis was hit with a felony narcotics charge after cops found clonazepam pills. It's clonazepam, yes, inside an Altoids container in her purse. Evidently, she needed to get relaxed to get him up. She was freed from custody Saturday after posting $2,150 bond. Clark, cops say, showed zero remorse that multiple juveniles had witnessed the act. He also reportedly declared that the children should be at home and not on the causeway.
Don't they know I'm fucking here? Come on, get out of here.
Hey.
I'm having some sex. Hey.
I'm sticking it to the whatever this is over here, huh?
Look at that. We're sack to crack in this. What you doing here, huh?
Sack to crack. Grounding and pounding, you know what I mean?
Get a job, you hippies.
This is just I'm cracked to sack going to town here, huh?
Aren't you supposed to be in school? It's Saturday. Go to detention. Oh!
Oh! Back in my day, we went to school 7 days a week. It's the least you could do. Hey, if you're not learning in school, learn when I do this to her, huh? Here's a new move for you. Go tell your parents about this one. If they would have done this one, you wouldn't have been born.
Here, kids, take these pills. Chill out, all right? Here, take an Altoid.
This will take an edge off your trauma. By the way, in case you were wondering, Clark is a registered sex offender who pleaded guilty in 2009 to a federal child pornography charge.
Of course.
So
there it is.
The kids probably shouldn't be around.
Nope. He's probably like, hey, those kids should just, be with us. No, man, they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't stick around for round two.
Nope. Lock that guy up.
At the time of his arrest, Clark was a civilian Department of Defense employee stationed in Japan, where they kind of have those kinks.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. A search of his work computer turned up a series of illicit images, which Clark admitted he viewed for self-gratification.
Oh, lock this mother up.
This effing pig. After copping to the felony count, court records show Clark contended that the child porn images were to him a fantasy world and that he would never, ever cross the line to hurt any child.
You already crossed the line, man.
Yeah, the minute you downloaded, you crossed it.
Yep.
Sentenced to 78 months in prison, Clark was also ordered to serve a life term of probation following his release from custody.
Good.
Yeah. Sack to crack. I will not eat lunch now. I've lost my appetite for the afternoon. Just saying. And our final story for today. If you thought that was bad, Bruiser, buckle up, Buttercup, because it only gets better.
We're going for a public ride.
So to speak. First of all, I'm going to show you the picture.
Wow, he's angry.
A little bit, especially when I tell you what he did. All right, so you're familiar with the state of Iowa.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Are you familiar with a certain, let's just say a certain convenience store chain that's got an unusual name?
Yeah, I think I have a hat with it somewhere around here.
Starts with a K?
Yep.
Yep.
Has an and in it.
Yep.
Yep.
Go
Done
is
there.
the final.
Yes, sir.
Well, one man took it literally.
Oh, jeez.
And the man you just saw in that
He
picture.
left some children at the gas station.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He's like, here's my DNA. I'm leaving.
Yep. Instead of leaving his wallet behind and a credit card, he left a little bit of himself behind. A man pleasured himself, then departed from a come-and-go store.
Oh, he took it as a suggestion, not a name of a business, huh?
It was a
Like,
command.
oh, really? This is what I do here? Okay, hold on.
It was a command, not a store name. An Iowan pleasured himself outside a come-and-go store and then departed for his nearby apartment, according to an indecent exposure complaint filed following his arrest this past week.
It was really good gas station pizza.
I guess so, right? According to cops, victims called 911 to report that an unknown male had said sexual things to them and then began masturbating in their presence while outside the
he did it
convenience.
in front of them. Okay.
Yeah, he just said, take a look.
Hey, you guys say come and go. Here we go.
Here we go. He then
Yeah,
began...
ring that up.
Ring,
Yeah, beef jerky. Put the beef jerky up. Yeah, ring the beef jerky up.
ring the beef jerky up.
Wait, slow down that card. Slow the slide down slow. Oh, okay, there we go. Yep, there we go. A fountain drink? Hold on. Slow pour it. Slower.
It's gushing out of the fountain. Gushing. I don't know if I can continue the story now.
He continued.
He did, didn't he? So, according to the cops, victims called 911 to report that an unknown male had said sexual things to them and began masturbating in their presence while outside the convenience store in Iowa City. After a police canvass near the come and go, officers identified 54-year-old Kenneth Lee Kelly. Good for you, buddy. You can still get it up.
Always been his dream to jerk off at a come and go.
I'm sure Nike's happy, too, because he went to the station in a Nike hoodie. And you know what?
Do it.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, you know what their slogan is, right?
He's literally taking everybody's slogan as word, as like what you do.
That's right.
Oh, I got to come and go? Just do it? Sure.
He's a suspect, Kenneth Lee Kelly is, in the public pleasure session. Multiple subjects from come and go, neighboring businesses and apartments identified the defendant as the subject in the photo. Evidently, he's been leaving his seed everywhere. Contacted at home, Kelly denied he was the individual captured on surveillance video. Kelly, however, confirmed he had clothing that matched the video and showed police a hat that was an identical match to the one worn by the suspect during the deed earlier this year. A search warrant at Kelly's apartment resulted in the seizure of garments that matched surveillance and traffic camera video from the incident. Oh, God, there's traffic camera video. Additionally, a photo lineup was conducted, and victims independently identified Kelly as the 12:30 a.m. come-and-go masturbator. He has a handle now.
Yes, he does.
Kelly was arrested Thursday and booked into the jail for indecent exposure, a serious misdemeanor, that's in quotes, for which bond has yet to be set. When questioned by police, Kelly reportedly claimed he wasn't exposing himself, but instead he was just scratching his genitals over and 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 over. Kelly's rap sheet includes convictions for felonious theft, which is my jazz name, narcotics possession, driving without a license, and marijuana possession. I didn't know marijuana made you frisk yourself over and over and over again.
Oh, I've never done that on marijuana, so you never know. Come and go's never done it for me either. So
no, I've never walked into a come and go and come and left. So there you go, Bruiser. That's Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for today.
Woohoo!
So I know you got a lot going on, but just tell us again briefly what's going on this weekend.
Well, I'm not going to a come and go. We have WrestleCade weekend, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. All the details are on darknessradioshow.com. All 3 days are all-day events. There's 4 shows, meet and greets, podcasts. We hang out afterwards and drink beer. It's a good time. Yeah, and I'm coming back Saturday and Sunday.
There you go. And I'll be watching on Title Match Network. Again, go to darknessradioshow.com/events, and you can sign up for Title Match Network. It's just $9.99 a month. With that, by the way, just don't stop with 1 month of Title Match Network. You can watch AML Wrestling, which is the home for Beer City Bruiser, and you can watch the events there.
Yep. Yeah. Every single one streamed down there.
That's right. So I'll be doing that. I'll be watching that. I don't believe I'm at KNSI this weekend. I have to switch some stuff around because December 2nd, yours truly, will be in Shoreview, Minnesota for an event there. And you can see that event and figure out how you can come see me in Minneapolis at an event, see me speak there, and come out and see me on December 2nd on Saturday for a one-day paranormal event here in Minneapolis. It's on the event page as well. So as a matter of fact, here, I'll tell you what the event is. I just don't have it memorized because, too many hits to the head, Bruiser. That you can relate there. But there's a one-day event coming to Minneapolis that I'll be hosting, and you can join us. It's just a $5 admission for the event. And just come on out, say hi to me. I speak at 10:30 in the morning, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It is called Enchanted Expo with a Twist in Winter Wonderland. It is December 2nd. It is in Shoreview in Minnesota at the Shoreview Community Center. Again, it's $5 to get in. And I will be hosting the event. And it's going to be a good time. So also Jessica Freeberg from the show here will be there as well. She'll be there with Natalie Fowler, and she'll be speaking as well. The two of them will be speaking. And also Sherry Meyer, Psychic Medium, will be there, and Randy Hoyt will be there, who is an artist and intuitive artist as well. It's a one-day event, and again, just $5 admission. There's lots of holistic, metaphysical things going on, lots of paranormal, holistic, and metaphysical vendors will be there as well. It's going to be a good time. One-day event there, December 2nd.
Very cool.
So you can just go to darknessradioshow.com for Bruiser's events, for my event, and check out the events page. Figure out how you can see us both.
Very cool.
All right, so that'll do it for today's show. We'll see you tomorrow. Supernatural news, and then Thursday, Lon Strickler. We'll be talking cryptids and different monsters. That's coming up this week. For Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for tuning in today for True Crime Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow for Darkness Radio, right here on The Big Show.